Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to the channel. Before we drift into tonight's tale of the Unmade Episodes, I'd love to know where in the world you are watching from tonight. And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Tonight we start our journey in a part of Ooo that feels just a whisper beyond memory. A place that was imagined but never fully realized. A kingdom that never received a name. It existed quietly in the folds of ideas, nestled in the soft haze of dreams and sketches. A castle among castles that shimmered with possibilities. This kingdom, unlike the Candy Kingdom or the Ice Kingdom, had no crown, no banners, no publicized history. It was a place that lingered in the minds of those who conceived it, and yet, in its silence, it held stories, and stories are never truly lost. If you close your eyes, perhaps you can see it too. Imagine a landscape where the morning sun rises slowly, its light spilling like honey over rolling hills. The air carries a faint scent of something both familiar and elusive, a blend of wildflowers, old parchment, and a quiet kind of magic. Streets wind gently, not in harsh straight lines, but in curves that lead you toward soft surprises. Hidden courtyard, small fountains with water that glows faintly in twilight, and archways through which the light dances differently depending on how you look at it. Every building seems alive, subtly breathing, a pulse beneath the stones and wooden beams. The heart of this kingdom is a castle, though even that word feels too firm for what it is. It is less a fortress and more a sanctuary. Its towers stretch upward, but with a fluid grace, bending slightly as if they are listening to the wind. The walls are not cold stone, but a mosaic of colors that shift with the light, reflecting moods rather than sunlight alone. Perhaps the king or queen of this place, if they could be called that, did not rule with decrees or commands. Perhaps they wandered the halls themselves, curious, kind, watching over their people with quiet attentiveness, attending more to questions than to answers. And the people? Oh, the people of this kingdom. They are not characters we have seen before, and yet they feel intimately familiar, like half-remembered friends. Children who play with shadows, shaping them into gentle companions. Bakers whose ovens glow with the warmth of quiet laughter. Gardeners who speak to flowers and hear them speak back, though only in the softest whispers. They are inhabitants who do not seek grand adventures, but instead treasure the subtle, small moments. The sound of wind through a corridor, the way sunlight spills across a cobblestone path in late afternoon, the warmth of hands clasped in understanding rather than urgency. And then there is Finn and Jake arriving in this kingdom by chance, guided by curiosity more than purpose. They wander through the mist streets, their footsteps echoing softly, finding themselves drawn to this world not by maps or quests, but by something quieter, an instinct that they are meant to pause here, if only for a little while. Finn notices the way the towers curve like gentle smiles, the way the windows reflect not just light, but memory. Jake, with his keen senses and fluid form, feels the pulse of the place, the rhythm of a life lived in soft intention. And he stretches lazily, melding with the shadows, blending almost seamlessly into the dreamscape. In this kingdom, time moves differently, like a slow river winding lazily through meadows. Days do not rush forward. Nights linger with a gentle hush, as if the stars themselves are hesitant to leave. Sometimes Finn stumbles upon streets that appear suddenly, and sometimes disappear the next moment. There is no sense of loss in this. It is simply the rhythm of a kingdom that exists partly in thought, partly in memory, partly in the delicate space between waking and sleep. Even the sky seems alive. At dawn, it is painted in colors that do not exist elsewhere. Soft lavender merging into rose gold. Wisps of clouds that swirl like brushstrokes in a quiet painter's hand. By evening, the sky darkens slowly, almost reluctantly, revealing stars that flicker with stories of forgotten adventures, gentle whispers of other unmade kingdoms, other tales that never fully formed. The air itself hums with possibility, carrying the sense that there is always more to explore here, more to remember, and more to imagine. As Finn and Jake wander further, they begin to notice subtle signs that this kingdom is unlike any other they have known. A fountain bubbles without end, yet the water tastes of memories rather than refreshment. A library contains books that are blank, yet somehow when touched, they replay scenes from the past that might have been or might yet be. Trees sway gently, though there is no wind, their leaves singing soft notes that feel like lullabies meant for those who are listening closely. Every corner seems to whisper a gentle lesson in noticing the unnoticed, in cherishing the ephemeral, in finding magic in stillness. The castle's grand hall opens before them as they climb a gentle set of stairs that twist unexpectedly, leading not just upward, but inward. The hall is vast, but not overwhelming. Its walls glimmer with faint, shifting images, echoes of moments that could have been, quiet memories of choices not made, stories paused mid-breath. Here Finn feels a peculiar familiarity, as though he has walked these halls before in a dream he cannot quite place. Jake stretches lazily on the floor, absorbing the warmth of the stone, feeling the pulse of the kingdom in a way that is both grounding and ethereal. As Finn and Jake move deeper into the castle, the light shifts subtly, as though the walls themselves breathe and respond to their presence. The corridors twist in gentle curves, lined with tapestries that seem to ripple with faint, silent motion, depicting moments that never truly happen. Banquets under moons that don't exist. Gentle meetings between creatures of impossible shapes, and quiet gestures of kindness that echo long after they are imagined. Finn pauses, tracing a finger along a tapestry, feeling the warmth beneath the threads, as if the memories themselves are alive, willing to be touched. Jake tilts his head, listening closely. In the spaces between the echoes of their footsteps, he hears something delicate, the hum of a forgotten song, a melody so faint it almost dissolves if you listen too hard. It is the sound of the kingdom itself, softly singing to those who wander without hurry, who notice without needing to understand. In that moment, the brothers realize that this kingdom is not built for adventure in the usual sense. It is built for reflection, for quiet discovery, for moments that seep into the soul and settle like gentle snowflakes. They find a garden tucked behind a translucent archway where plants sway without wind, their leaves brushing together as if in conversation. Flowers bloom in colors that seem impossible, petals layered with soft luminescence that changes depending on how you tilt your head. Finn kneels beside a small fountain where water spills over stones carved with delicate patterns. When he dips a hand into the cool stream, he is not met with simple wetness, but with images, fleeting glimpses of possibilities, of choices not yet made, of lives lived in other ways. The water murmurs softly, almost like a lullaby, carrying the sensation of knowing something important without ever needing to put it into words. In another part of the garden, creatures move quietly between the plants. They are unlike anything Finn or Jake have seen. Some shaped like soft clouds, others glinting like shards of light, each moving with a calm awareness of its own existence. The creatures do not speak in words, but in gestures, in tiny ripples of air and glimmers of warmth that ripple across the skin. Jake, ever curious, stretches one of his paws toward a creature, and it responds by shifting colors, a gentle acknowledgement of connection. Finn watches this interaction, feeling a quiet understanding settle in him, a realization that some kingdoms are alive in ways deeper than castles, armies, or battles. They are alive in the sense that they feel, remember, and breathe alongside those who enter them. As they wander further, they encounter the residents of the kingdom. There are beings who move through the halls with an unhurried grace, carrying lanterns that emit soft, shifting light. Each resident seems engaged in a delicate task, a painter tracing invisible lines on a canvas, a scribe copying stories that have never been told, a gardener tending to plants whose roots hum with unspoken knowledge. They notice Finn and Jake, but do not startle. Instead, they offer nods, small smiles, gestures that are as warm as the golden glow of the lanterns. In this place, attention is a form of affection, presence a form of care, and every small act is imbued with intention. The castle itself continues to reveal its quiet wonders. In one hall, mirrors line the walls, but when Finn gazes into them, he does not see himself in the usual reflection. Instead, he sees fleeting images of who he might have been, who he could yet become, and the choices that ripple softly across each potential self. It is not overwhelming or frightening. Rather, it is soothing, a gentle reminder that the path is never fully fixed, that possibility is always near if one moves softly and listens. Jake curls up beside one mirror, stretching to mimic the shapes he sees reflected, and a warm hum passes through the floor, as if the castle itself is amused in a quiet, gentle way. Eventually, the brothers reach the heart of the kingdom, a circular chamber bathed in light that does not come from any single source. Here the air feels softer, heavier with memory, as if each breath carries fragments of stories waiting to be remembered. A fountain occupies the center, shaped like a spiral, with the water flowing upward rather than down. Finn kneels beside it, cupping the shimmering liquid. He sees visions again, soft, half-formed narratives, children laughing in sunlit streets, a quiet baker offering bread to a creature with no name, a gentle snowfall that blankets the town in silver silence. The moments are fleeting, fragile, and yet they leave an impression, like a soft footprint on the mind that lingers long after the memory fades. They wander, almost without thinking, into an open balcony overlooking the kingdom from above. From this vantage, the streets glimmer with muted light, and the inhabitants move with the grace of dreams. Finn leans against the railing, feeling a rare sense of peace settle deep in his chest. Jake floats beside him, his body blending seamlessly with the soft evening breeze, ears twitching at the distant hum of the kingdom's quiet song. Neither speaks much. There is no need. Silence in this place is not emptiness, but a companion, a soft blanket enveloping both of them in the quiet magic that seems to seep from every stone, every leaf, every breath of air. Even the sky above this unmade kingdom is different. Softly shifting shades of lavender and rose, clouds that curve like smiles, stars that glimmer as if holding their own secrets. Finn watches, feeling the gentle weight of time stretch and bend, and he begins to understand that this kingdom is not meant to be conquered, not meant to be catalogued or fully explained. It exists in the quiet folds of imagination, in the spaces between sleep and wakefulness, in the tender act of noticing what is ephemeral and beautiful. As the evening deepens, Finn and Jake wander down a gentle cobblestone path that curves around the base of the castle. The stones are worn smooth, but each seems to hum faintly beneath their feet, as if acknowledging the presence of visitors who arrive not with haste or expectation, but with quiet curiosity. The air carries the faint aroma of warm bread and rain-soaked earth, mingling in a way that is comforting and grounding. Each step feels measured, deliberate, like a slow heartbeat in sync with the pulse of the kingdom itself. They find themselves in a courtyard tucked between two towers. Moonlight spills over its edges, pooling in silver puddles that reflect the delicate glow of lanterns. Here, fountains bubble quietly, each water droplet creating ripples that move outward in patterns that are mesmerizing in their simplicity. Finn reaches toward one, and the water flares with a soft, golden light, forming images that dissolve before he can fully comprehend them. He sees children running through streets that curve like ribbons, animals with fur that shimmers in impossible colors, and citizens exchanging gestures of care that speak louder than any words ever could. Jake watches the play of light, his eyes soft and attentive, feeling the quiet joy that resonates in every ripple. As they continue to wander, they stumble upon a small market, though it is unlike any market they have visited before. Stalls are lined with objects that defy ordinary logic, books that hum with faint melodies, cloth that glows softly in the shade, small jars containing swirling mists that seem to hold memories. The inhabitants move gently between these items, examining them with tender curiosity rather than urgency or commerce. One merchant, a figure draped in robes of shifting color, offers Finn a small trinket, a crystal that pulses faintly with light. When Finn holds it, he feels a warmth in his chest, a quiet recognition, as though the crystal carries the memory of kindnesses he has given and received, all folded into one delicate object. Jake drifts lazily around the courtyard, stretching his body to blend with the shadows. A group of creatures approaches him, small and luminous, their forms like soft, drifting clouds with glimmers of gold and silver. They brush against him in gentle acknowledgement, and for a moment, Jake feels the profound serenity of belonging without words, of connection without expectation. Finn smiles softly, watching this interaction, sensing that in this kingdom, the deepest lessons are imparted not through grand gestures, but through quiet presence and gentle attention. They follow a winding path to a serene lake, perfectly still, reflecting the soft pastel hues of the sky. The lake seems to exist outside the normal flow of time. Ripples travel in slow, lazy circles, disturbed only by the occasional gentle leap of a luminous fish that glows faintly beneath the surface. Finn sits at the water's edge, dipping a hand in, and once again visions arise, fleeting images of paths untaken, adventures imagined but never begun, and choices made in the quiet spaces of the heart. Jake lies beside him, eyes half closed, absorbing the calm that radiates from this place. It is the kind of silence that is rich and full, the kind that seems to echo in the soul long after it is felt. From the lake, the brothers wander into a grove of trees unlike any they have seen before. The trunks twist gently, each ring in their bark glowing faintly as if holding countless stories within. Leaves shimmer in hues that shift depending on the angle of the moonlight, soft blues melting into gentle purples, then into faint golds. The air is scented with something indefinable, a mingling of earth, dew, and something almost like memory itself. Finn reaches out to touch a leaf, and it bends softly, whispering a sound almost like laughter, or perhaps the faint echo of an old lullaby. Jake curls his long, flexible body among the roots, letting the warmth of the trees seep into him, feeling their quiet rhythm as if the grove itself is breathing alongside him. In the center of the grove, there is a clearing with a single tree that towers above the rest. Its branches stretch wide and gentle, adorned with blossoms that glow softly, like stars captured in petals. Finn approaches slowly, kneeling beneath the tree, and notices that the ground beneath is covered in soft moss, cushioning each step like a gentle sigh. Here, in this sacred space, the kingdom's true magic becomes clear. It is not in battles, treasures, or grand conquests, but in the delicate awareness of life's quiet moments. Every leaf, every ripple, every gentle sound contributes to a harmony that exists here and here alone in the unmade, unnamed corners of Ooo. As night settles fully, Finn and Jake finally climb to a small balcony overlooking the grove. The kingdom sprawls beneath them, bathed in silver moonlight and faint lavender hues. Tiny lanterns flicker along winding streets, creating rivers of soft light that trace the gentle pulse of life. The brothers sit quietly, letting the serenity wash over them. Finn feels an almost sacred stillness settle in his chest, a lesson in quiet observation and appreciation. Jake's eyes close fully now, his breathing slow and even, as he floats effortlessly beside Finn, attuned to the kingdom's gentle rhythm. It is in these final hours, as the soft wind brushes across the towers and the distant hum of the fountains echoes faintly, that the kingdom leaves its most subtle impression. The unnamed kingdom is not forgotten because it was unmade. It is remembered quietly, in dreams and whispers, in the gentle act of noticing what is fleeting and beautiful. Finn and Jake have experienced something that cannot be fully captured, something that exists only in the quiet folds of memory and imagination. It is the kind of experience that lingers, like the soft glow of moonlight through curtains, a reminder that even what never fully existed has value, warmth, and a lesson for those who pause long enough to see it. Finn and Jake remain on the balcony for what feels like a long while, though in a place like this, time is a fluid companion rather than a strict ruler. The moon hangs low in the sky, a soft lantern casting silver light over rooftops that curve gently like smiles. The stars above twinkle faintly, each one carrying the memory of another story, another dream that never fully reached waking life. Finn leans his head back, letting the quiet settle into him, and realizes that there is no rush to leave. The kingdom is not a place to conquer or to map. It is a place to simply be, to notice, to feel, and to remember in the way one remembers the warmth of a long-ago afternoon or the soft echo of a lullaby. Jake hums softly, a low, comforting vibration that seems to merge with the gentle hum of the kingdom itself. He drifts lazily along the balcony, stretching out as if to absorb the very essence of the place. Finn watches him, feeling a quiet gratitude for the simplicity of this moment. No quests, no battles, no urgency. Just the subtle, persistent magic of being present. There is a lesson here, gentle and unobtrusive, that some adventures are found not in movement or action, but in quiet observation, and allowing the world to unfold around you without pressing for answers. Below them, the streets of the kingdom are empty now, the inhabitants having retreated to their quiet homes or to the gentle folds of their own dreams. Lanterns glow faintly, casting soft pools of light that shimmer like water. Finn imagines the residents asleep, their breaths slow and even, and he feels the tender pulse of the place as if it were a living, breathing entity. The kingdom itself seems to exhale, a soft sigh that brushes over the walls and towers, carrying with it a sensation of completeness, of balance, of something that exists just on the edge of memory and imagination. They wander down from the balcony into a small courtyard one final time. The fountain there is still, reflecting the moon and stars in its glassy surface. Finn kneels, dipping his hands into the water. He sees flashes of moments not yet lived, tiny gestures of kindness, quiet laughter shared with strangers, fleeting glances of connection that ripple outward like soft waves. Each image is ephemeral, dissolving as quickly as it forms, yet leaving a trace, a gentle warmth that sinks deep into his chest. Jake circles the fountain, stretching into shapes that mimic the flowing water, a mirror of the fluidity and impermanence that defines this place. In the shadows, a figure emerges, or perhaps has always been there, waiting quietly. It is a resident of the kingdom, neither imposing nor commanding, but gentle, with eyes that hold soft light and a presence that feels like home. They approach Finn and Jake slowly, carrying nothing, offering nothing tangible, and yet in their silent gesture is a profound communication. It is a reminder that in a place like this, connection is subtle, and the most meaningful exchanges need no words. Finn feels a quiet understanding settle over him, the kind that does not need articulation, but leaves a lasting impression nonetheless. As they prepare to leave the heart of the kingdom, the brothers wander one last time through winding streets, noticing details they had not seen before. Small doorways half hidden behind ivy, windows that glow with unspoken stories, cobblestones warm beneath their feet, as if remembering every step ever taken. The kingdom has a rhythm, a pulse, that is felt rather than seen, understood rather than explained. Finn reaches for Jake's paw, squeezing gently, and they share a silent acknowledgement. That this place, though unmade in the sense that it was never fully realized in the world beyond imagination, has given them a quiet gift, an experience of presence, of wonder, of reflection. They climb the gentle hill that leads to the edge of the kingdom, the first hint of dawn brushing the horizon with soft shades of rose and gold. Finn glances back one last time. The towers twist in the morning light like fingers waving farewell. The streets shimmer faintly, and the air carries the soft scent of memory and magic. It is not sadness that fills him, but a calm, lingering warmth, the kind of comfort that wraps around the heart like a soft blanket. Jake stretches one last time, tail curling in a lazy spiral, blending with the light mist rising from the ground. As they step beyond the boundary of the kingdom, the world around them seems to shift subtly. The mists curl behind them, the towers vanish like whispers, and the soft glow fades into the quiet of early morning. Yet the feeling remains, a sense that even what never fully existed can touch the heart, leaving traces that endure in memory and dreams. Finn feels it in his chest. Jake feels it in the gentle hum of his body, and together they carry a piece of the kingdom with them. In the end, the kingdom that was never named exists, not in maps or scrolls, not in tales that were told aloud, but in the quiet awareness that even in unmade places, magic persists. It exists in the spaces between thoughts, in the gentle pause between breaths, in the tender attention to small wonders. Finn and Jake walk on, the first light of morning brushing their faces, and the unnamed kingdom lingers behind them, not lost, but quietly remembered, a soft lullaby woven into the heart of Ooo itself. And perhaps, if you close your eyes tonight, you might find it too, shimmering at the edge of dreams, waiting for those who wander gently enough to notice, teaching the delicate lesson that some adventures are meant to be felt, more than seen, remembered more than recorded, and cherished in the still, quiet moments where the world softens and sleep begins to take hold. Let's settle back into the quiet magic of Ooo and drift into tonight's next Unmade episode. Tonight we follow Finn on a journey that feels like the soft hum of a memory just beyond reach. A story that whispers of beginnings, of what was before, of a life that he had lived once long ago, though he could not yet remember it. Imagine, if you will, Finn wandering along a path, shaded by soft, tall trees, the light filtering through the leaves like liquid gold, moving in gentle ripples across the forest floor. The world around him feels familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. as though he has stepped into a dream half-remembered. The air is warm, but carries the scent of rain-soaked earth, of wildflowers just waking to the morning sun, and of something deeper, something that feels like the quiet echo of his own heart. Finn walks slowly, noticing the delicate way a bird shifts in the branches, how the wind bends a stalk of grass, how shadows lengthen and contract as though breathing with the world. This is a place where time moves differently. Moments stretch and fold upon themselves, and it is easy to forget what has passed and what is yet to come. As Finn walks, he begins to notice hints of someone else in this world, a presence that moves with soft purpose, as if tethered to him by threads unseen. At first, he wonders if it is imagination, a trick of the light, or perhaps a reflection of the self he has always known. But soon the figure becomes clearer. It is another Finn, or perhaps the Finn he once was, a gentler, quieter version, with eyes that hold the calm curiosity of a child just beginning to understand the world. This is the Finn of his first life, a life that existed before the adventures, before the heroism, before the weight of responsibility and expectation had ever settled on his shoulders. Their first meeting is quiet, almost hesitant. Neither speaks at first, only observes. The first life, Finn tilts his head, eyes wide with gentle curiosity, and Finn feels a strange sensation, as if looking at a reflection in a pond, seeing not just himself, but a self that has always been there, just beneath the surface of memory. There is no fear, no tension, only an odd, comforting recognition. It is as if both versions of Finn are aware, on some unspoken level, that they are connected across time, across lives, across experiences, both lived and imagined. The forest around them seems to notice their presence. Leaves shimmer with soft light, birds pause mid-song, and the ground beneath their feet hums faintly, as if acknowledging the reunion. Finn slowly steps closer, and the first live Finn mirrors his movements with quiet grace. There is a gentle rhythm in this meeting, a sense that no words are necessary, that understanding can exist without speech. Finn feels the soft weight of memory brushing against him, fragments of dreams he does not yet recall, lessons from a life that has already whispered its wisdom into the soil, into the air, into the gentle sway of the trees. Eventually they begin to speak softly, in tones that are more like shared sighs than conversation. Finn learns that his first life was quiet, introspective, shaped by observation and small acts of care rather than by grand adventures. There are stories of simple joys, a morning spent watching dew gather on petals, a conversation with a wandering fox, a shared meal beneath a tree whose leaves shimmered with unspoken magic. Each tale is gentle and deliberate, a reminder that even a life without fanfare can be rich, meaningful, and full of subtle wonder. The first life, Finn, shows him a clearing where a small river winds lazily through soft grass. The water is crystal clear, and as Finn dips his fingers in, he sees reflections, not of the present, but of moments that could have been, choices that shaped him, lessons learned quietly, small kindnesses that rippled outward unseen but felt deeply. There is a rhythm here, a harmony in the ordinary that feels extraordinary when observed with the patience and attention of a child experiencing the world for the first time. Jake, of course, is nearby, lounging on a moss-covered rock. He watches Finn with a quiet smile, sensing the importance of this reunion, the way the gentle meeting of past and present folds like a soft blanket around the heart. He stretches lazily, ears twitching to the subtle sounds of the forest, to the soft gurgle of the river, to the delicate murmur of leaves brushing together. Even he feels the weight of memory in this place, though in Jake's case, it is light, warm, like sun on fur, a quiet joy in simply being present. As Finn and his first life self wander together along the river, The landscape begins to reveal its secrets. Trees shimmer faintly with hues that are not quite green. Rivers carry reflections of stars not yet born, and gentle breezes whisper names that feel familiar and strange all at once. The forest is alive not just with creatures or plants, but with memory itself, with the resonance of choices, hopes, and small moments that have passed through lives and yet remain soft and enduring. Finn feels a strange pull of nostalgia, not for this life, but for the one he has not yet remembered. And it is a feeling that soothes him, a balm to the often restless energy of his soul. The first life, Finn, leads him to a grove where sunlight filters through a canopy in liquid ribbons. Here the air is thick with the scent of something almost intangible. Possibility, remembrance, and quiet understanding. Flowers lean toward them as they pass, petals brushing their skin with warmth, as if welcoming not just their presence, but the meeting of past and present selves. Finn kneels beside a patch of soft moss and traces his fingers over it, feeling the faint pulse of time, the gentle heartbeat of the world, and the subtle connection that binds all lives together, like threads woven into a tapestry too vast to fully comprehend. The two Finns move slowly through the grove, the air around them humming softly with the quiet magic of lives remembered and yet not fully lived. Each step is deliberate yet effortless, as if the ground itself is guiding them towards something they both instinctively need to see. The first life, Finn pauses by a small stream, its waters glinting like liquid silver beneath the dappled sunlight. He gestures for Finn to sit beside him on the soft grass, and together they watch as tiny fish weave patterns beneath the surface, leaving trails of light that feel like delicate threads connecting moments across time. Finn feels a gentle swell of emotion rise in his chest. He realizes that this meeting is not just a curiosity, not simply a dream or a figment of imagination. It is a quiet reconciliation of past and present, a reminder that even before the adventures, the quests, and the heroism, he was a being capable of reflection, empathy, and subtle wonder. The first life, Finn smiles, a soft curve of lips that carries the wisdom of innocence unburdened by expectation. "I remember things differently," he says softly, "but it all feels the same in the quiet places." Finn nods, understanding without needing further explanation, feeling the resonance of shared memory that exists beyond words. As they continue along the stream, they come across a grove of trees whose trunks are etched with faint patterns, like stories written in living bark. The first life, Finn reaches out to trace a spiral carved delicately into one tree, and Finn follows suit, their fingers brushing against the same patterns, feeling the subtle vibrations that carry stories of choice, of love, of gentle courage. These are not tales of battles or victories, but of quiet acts, helping a stranger across a river, offering comfort to a friend in sorrow, tending to a garden in silence. Finn realizes that these small moments, often overlooked, are the true essence of a life lived fully, even when unseen by the wider world. Jake, ever attentive, wanders near a group of small creatures gathering dew from the leaves. Their tiny bodies shimmer in soft light, and as Jake reaches out with a paw, they scatter gently, leaving trails of sparkling droplets behind. He pauses, listening to the soft chorus of their movements, and Finn watches with a gentle smile. The presence of Jake here, calm and observant, mirrors the lessons that the first life Finn seems to embody. The connection, patience, and quiet awareness often hold more significance than loud action or bold declarations. They come upon a small meadow, surrounded by trees that stretch toward the sky in graceful arcs. The sunlight here is softer, warmer, bathing everything in hues of gold and rose, Wildflowers sway gently, their colors impossible to name, shifting subtly with every movement of the wind. Finn lies back on the soft grass, feeling it yield beneath him. And the first life, Finn, settles beside him, their shoulders almost touching, sharing the warmth of simple companionship. Here, Finn experiences a sense of peace that feels almost foreign, yet deeply familiar, like returning to a home he never knew he had. The first life, Finn, begins to speak again, softly, almost as if to himself, but also to Finn. He tells stories of quiet mornings, spent tracing the flight of birds, of nights lying under a sky full of stars that seem to whisper secrets of other worlds. He speaks of kindness given freely, of moments of awe experienced alone, and of the profound understanding that life's meaning often comes in the smallest of gestures. Finn listens intently, absorbing the rhythm of these recollections, and realizes that his own adventures, loud and bold though they may be, are woven from the same threads. Courage, empathy, curiosity, they are constants, carried forward even when lives change, even when the world shifts around them. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of lavender and amber, Finn notices a gentle ripple in the air, as if the world itself is acknowledging the passage of time, in a language only the heart can understand. The first life, Finn rises, stretching lightly, and gestures toward a hill that rises softly above the meadow. They climb together, each step slow and deliberate, the grass brushing against their hands and feet, carrying the faint hum of long-past memories. At the top they pause, looking out across a landscape that feels endless, bathed in the quiet glow of evening. Finn realizes that the meeting with his first life self is not bound by explanation, not defined by comprehension. It is a communion of understanding, a gentle reminder that who we are now is informed by all that came before, even when the details are hazy or lost to memory. The first life. Finn turns to him, eyes full of warmth and quiet wisdom, and in that gaze, Finn sees not only himself, but the echo of every choice, every act of curiosity, every fleeting moment of wonder that has shaped him. It is a moment that feels suspended, timeless, and full of the kind of calm that sinks deep into the soul. They remain there, side by side, as shadows lengthen and stars begin to twinkle faintly in the darkening sky. Jake curls around Finn's side, tail tucked loosely, body relaxed and warm. The forest breathes around them, whispering soft lullabies in the rustle of leaves, the murmur of the river, and the distant song of night creatures. Finn leans back, closing his eyes, and allows the quiet to wash over him, a gentle reminder that even the earliest life he lived, so long before the adventures he knows, is a thread in the tapestry of who he is. As the stars deepen their glow overhead, Finn slowly opens his eyes, feeling the soft night air brush against his cheeks. The first life, Finn, sits quietly beside him, watching the constellations as if reading a story written not in words, but in points of light scattered across the heavens. The night feels alive, each star a gentle pulse, a tiny heartbeat resonating through the vast, calm sky. Finn realizes that in this meeting, he has been gifted more than memories. He has been shown the quiet essence of who he truly is, the core that persists across lives, waiting to be noticed and cherished. They speak again, but their words are soft, careful, more like whispers carried by the night wind than conversation. The first life, Finn, tells tales of small kindnesses that ripple outward, never recorded in chronicles or songs, but felt deeply by those who encountered them. Finn listens, captivated not by heroics or battles, but by these subtle threads of connection. He begins to understand that courage is not always loud. that bravery can exist in the decision to listen, to offer comfort, to simply be present in a moment without needing to act dramatically. Jake hums softly beside them, sensing the serenity that flows between the two fins, blending it with his own gentle warmth. The first life Finn guides him through the quiet paths of their shared memories. They reach a clearing where fireflies float lazily in the air, tiny lights moving in patterns that feel almost deliberate, like a dance of remembrance. Each flicker seems to carry a fragment of a moment, a choice made long ago, a gesture unnoticed yet meaningful. Finn watches, mesmerized, feeling as though he can reach out and touch not only the fireflies, but the very fabric of his past life. It is not overwhelming, nor is it frightening. It is the subtle joy of discovery, of learning that even what is hidden or forgotten is still alive in gentle ways. They come to a small pond, its surface still and glassy under the moonlight. The water reflects not only the night sky, but faint echoes of possibilities, paths he might have taken, moments that shaped him before he was aware of shaping anything at all. He dips a hand into the water, and visions rise softly, dissolving almost as quickly as they appear. He sees himself offering help to someone in need, comforting a lonely soul, sharing laughter without expectation of reward. He sees quiet mornings spent exploring, observing, and learning without urgency or pressure. Each vision leaves a gentle impression, like footprints on soft sand that the tide does not fully wash away. The first life Finn crouches beside him, their hands almost touching, and says softly that life is not a collection of grand moments, but a series of small ones strung together, each one carrying its own quiet magic. Finn nods, feeling the truth of it settle deep in his chest. Even the loud, dramatic adventures of his current life are built on this foundation of subtle, unnoticed actions, and the lessons of the first life are threads that weave through everything he will do, shaping his understanding of courage, empathy, and love. Jake stretches beside them, tail curling in lazy spirals, and the soft night air hums with quiet life. The trees whisper, the river murmurs, and even the grass beneath their feet seems to pulse with memory. Finn feels the rhythm of life flowing around him, a slow, deliberate cadence that matches the gentle beat of his own heart. He realizes that in meeting his first life self, he has glimpsed the continuum of being, the way one existence flows into another, carrying lessons, joy, and quiet understanding across time. The first life Finn rises, stretching like a gentle wind passing through the grove, and gestures toward a soft hill rising above the pond. Finn follows, sensing that this is a place of closure, a point where the first life self will rest, and the current Finn will carry forward what has been learned. They climb slowly, feeling the gentle push of the earth beneath their feet, the soft brush of leaves along the path. At the top they pause, looking back over the glimmering forest below. The moonlight bathes everything in silver, the stars twinkle faintly, and Finn feels a quiet satisfaction, a deep sense of peace that arises not from victory, but from understanding, from connection, from presence. The first life Finn smiles, a gentle curve of lips full of warmth, and places a hand softly on Finn's shoulder. Without speaking, he conveys everything that words cannot: comfort, reassurance, the quiet joy of living fully in the subtle moments, the understanding that life is not measured in achievements, but in attention, in care, in love. Finn nods, feeling the gift of this encounter, knowing it will remain with him forever, carried in the gentle spaces of his heart and memory. As dawn begins to touch the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, the first life Finn begins to fade, not vanishing but merging with the quiet essence of the world, like a sigh absorbed into the air. Finn feels no sadness, only a lingering warmth, a sense that what is essential never truly leaves, but simply exists in another form, waiting to be noticed, waiting to guide, waiting to be remembered. Jake nudges him gently, a soft hum vibrating through his body, and Finn takes a deep breath, letting the stillness and peace of the night settle into his bones. They descend the hill together, the soft light of morning brushing their faces, the forest alive with subtle movement, the air thick with possibility. Finn realizes that he carries something delicate but profound, a connection to a life he lived once, to lessons learned in quiet, to the deep understanding that every choice, every moment of presence, every act of attention leaves a mark, however small, on the world and on the soul. Even unmade memories, even lives not fully remembered, can shape us, guide us, and remind us of the beauty in small, gentle acts. As the forest stretches out around them, Finn and Jake continue along the soft path, the whispers of the first life echoing like a lullaby through the trees. Finn feels the quiet guidance in his steps, the soft reassurance in the gentle rustle of leaves, the comfort in knowing that even the earliest life he has lived is a thread woven to who he is, carrying him forward with subtle strength, quiet courage, and the tender knowledge that life in all its forms is a story to be cherished softly, carefully, and completely. As the forest begins to awaken with the first hints of morning, Finn walks alongside the faint echo of his first life self, feeling the subtle weight of memory in each step. The air is cool now, carrying the scent of dew and soft earth, and the gentle light brushes across the leaves like a painter's hand, illuminating tiny details he might have missed before. The delicate veins of a leaf, the way a spider's web glimmers with the captured droplets, the soft hum of insects beginning their morning chorus. Each small miracle feels magnified in the quiet of the world, each moment carrying a resonance that lingers in the chest like a slow, comforting heartbeat. The first life Finn gestures toward a small clearing where the grass is soft and flecked with early blooms, petals still heavy with morning moisture. Finn kneels beside him, letting the damp earth press against his palms, feeling the faint pulse of life beneath his fingers. The first life Finn speaks softly, not of grand adventures, but of the way life moves in tiny, almost imperceptible currents. He tells of mornings spent observing, afternoons given to quiet reflection, and nights where the world felt vast, mysterious, and full of stories waiting for gentle attention. Finn listens with a new awareness, realizing that the courage he has carried in his current life has roots in these quiet, foundational acts, in the first stirrings of empathy and curiosity that shaped him long before he drew a sword. Jake, reclining lazily on the edge of the clearing, lets out a contented hum, his ears twitching at the soft songs of birds awakening nearby. He watches the two Finns together, sensing the importance of this union of past and present selves, the way subtle understanding has unfolded in silence, in observation, in shared presence. It is a lesson Jake intuitively grasps, that not every journey needs rushing, that some of the most meaningful adventures exist in quiet moments where attention is given fully, without expectation or demand. The first life Finn rises and gestures toward a gently sloping hill, its sides dappled with sunlight filtering through the forest canopy. Together they climb slowly, savoring the soft resistance of the earth beneath their feet and the gentle sway of the trees alongside the path. At the top, they pause to take in the view, a landscape stretching beyond comprehension, bathed in golden light, with rivers winding like silver threads through fields that shimmer with a subtle luminescence. The forest behind them is alive with memory and magic, every rustle of leaves and trickle of water carrying whispers of lives remembered, choices made, and possibilities gently unfolding. Here, at this quiet vantage point, Finn feels the full impact of his meeting with his first life self. It is not a collision of worlds, nor a revelation of dramatic truths, but a slow, gentle realization that life is a continuous tapestry of presence and awareness, each moment interwoven with the next. He sees himself not as a singular hero defined by grand deeds, but as a being shaped by kindnesses, by careful observation, by the quiet courage of simply being aware and engaged. The first life, Finn's gaze meets his, and in that moment, Finn feels the subtle pulse of continuity, the thread that links all his experiences, all his selves, across time and memory. The first life, Finn kneels and places a hand softly on Finn's shoulder, conveying a depth of understanding that words could never fully capture. It is a silent assurance, a whisper of connection, a reminder that even what is faint, forgotten, or unseen carries power. Finn feels a warmth spread through him, a quiet confidence that his path, however winding or uncertain, has always been guided by this subtle, persistent wisdom. Even unmade lives, even forgotten beginnings, have left their mark, nurturing the growth of courage, compassion, and gentle insight that he now carries forward. Jake stretches beside them, tail curling lazily around his paws, eyes half closed in contentment. The soft rustle of the wind through the trees, the faint ripple of the stream, and the distant calls of early morning creatures create a symphony of stillness that envelops the three companions. Finn leans back into the soft grass, letting the warmth of the rising sun wash over him, feeling the resonance of the first life lingering in every breath. He senses that the lessons he has learned here will travel quietly with him, woven into the fabric of his being like a delicate melody, easy to miss, but impossible to forget once truly heard. As the sun rises fully, casting long, gentle shadows across the forest floor, the first life Finn begins to fade, dissolving into the soft, luminous air like morning mist. Finn does not feel loss, only a profound sense of gratitude and peace. The encounter has imparted a quiet clarity that life is a collection of moments to notice, to cherish, to live fully, even in their simplest forms. Every step, every choice, every act of care leaves an imprint, a gentle echo that reverberates across time, across lives, across unmade and forgotten worlds. Finn rises, brushing dew from his hands, and looks toward Jake, who gives a soft, knowing smile. Together they walk down the hill, the forest alive with subtle, gentle sounds, carrying the memory of this meeting within them. Finn feels lighter, more centered, as if the quiet presence of his first life has infused him with calm purpose. He knows now that the heart of adventure is not always found in daring deeds or dramatic quests, but in attentiveness, empathy, and the willingness to inhabit the present moment fully. As they leave the grove and step back onto familiar paths, Finn casts one last glance over the soft, shimmering landscape. The echoes of his first life linger in the air, a lullaby of memory and gentle wisdom that will remain with him always. He breathes deeply, savoring the soft, lingering magic, and Jake hums softly beside him, a companion to this quiet reflection. The forest behind them seems to exhale in satisfaction, as if acknowledging the gentle closure of a story that was never fully told but deeply felt. And so Finn carries forward the essence of his first life, a whisper of understanding, a thread of quiet courage, and the knowledge that even lives unmade or memories half forgotten can shape the present. The forest, the stream, the gentle hill, and the fading presence of the first life, Finn, all merge into the soft light of morning, leaving Finn and Jake with hearts full of calm, minds open to wonder, and the comforting sense that life in all its forms is a tapestry to be noticed, cherished, and remembered softly, like the gentle lull of a story told at bedtime. We drift into a tale that is soft and fleeting, yet full of wonder. It is a story of transformation, of lightness, and of seeing the world from a perspective that is at once familiar and impossibly new. It is the story of the day Jake became a cloud. Imagine, if you can, waking to a morning where the air itself feels different, softer, more pliant, as if the very world is waiting to be touched lightly, explored gently. Finn and Jake are wandering along a quiet meadow, the dew still clinging to each blade of grass, glinting like tiny gems in the gentle morning sun. Birds move slowly above them, circling lazily in the sky, their wings catching the light with delicate shimmer. There is no rush today, no pressing urgency, only the soft awareness of being alive in a world that seems to breathe alongside them. Jake stretches his long, flexible body, ears twitching as he feels the air brush against him in waves that are warmer, softer, and somehow more inviting than usual. Finn watches him with a gentle smile, sensing that something subtle and extraordinary is about to unfold. It's an alternate. As they stroll along, the sky begins to shimmer, the air thickening with a faint luminescence that makes the world seem more vivid, more alive. Clouds gather, not in the hurried, stormy fashion of weather, but with quiet deliberation, curling and folding like ribbons of silk that float with patient grace. Jake tilts his head, sniffing at the strange scent of ozone and sunlit mist, and feels a sudden, gentle tug in his chest, as though the sky itself is calling to him in a voice too soft to hear fully. Finn notices the change in his friend, a subtle energy that hums beneath his skin, and instinctively slows his pace, sensing that this is a moment to observe, to breathe, to simply be present. Suddenly, the sensation grows stronger. Jake feels his body loosening, stretching, becoming lighter in a way that is impossible to ignore. His fur, usually warm and solid, now seems to ripple with currents of air, like the surface of a pond caught in a soft breeze. He lifts a paw, and it drifts gently upward, suspended, weightless, as though gravity has forgotten him for a moment. Finn's eyes widen with gentle astonishment, but he does not panic. He senses, in the calm of the morning and the quiet magic of the meadow, that this transformation is not frightening, but wondrous, a gift of perspective and wonder. Jake begins to float slowly at first, rising above the grass, above the trees, until the meadow below looks like a patchwork quilt of green and gold. His body softens further, losing the familiar solidity of flesh and fur, expanding into a form that is airy, malleable, and delicate. Finn watches, stepping back slightly, feeling a mix of awe and serenity. The sky seems to welcome Jake, wrapping him in gentle currents of wind that lift him higher and higher. Birds glide alongside him for a moment, circling curiously but quickly moving on as they recognize the extraordinary nature of their companion. From this new vantage point, Jake perceives the world differently. Colors are more fluid, shapes less defined, the lines between earth and sky, tree and river, fading into a gentle haze of possibility. He can feel the pulse of life beneath him, the quiet movement of streams, the soft sway of forests, the hidden stirrings of creatures, small and large. It is as if every element of Ooo has a heartbeat, a rhythm that he can now perceive with clarity, flowing through him, through the wind, through the gentle rise and fall of the clouds themselves. Finn follows below, keeping pace with Jake's ascent, but on solid ground. He notices that the world looks different through the eyes of his friend. The rivers glimmer like silver threads weaving through a tapestry. The trees sway in patterns that seem to pulse with intention, and the wind carries faint whispers of stories long forgotten. He senses that Jake is not only floating above them, but inhabiting a new form of understanding, one that transcends physical limitations and enters the realm of perspective itself. As Jake drifts higher, he feels an expanding freedom, a delicate lightness that makes the usual constraints of space and gravity irrelevant. He can stretch himself into soft, rolling shapes, curling into spirals, then unfurling into vast, sweeping forms that mirror the curves of the distant hills and valleys below. Sunlight filters through him, illuminating him like a gentle lantern, and he senses a profound connection with the sky itself, with the air, with the subtle movements of the world beneath. He begins to understand that being a cloud is not merely a transformation of form, but a transformation of perception, of awareness, of the way life can be experienced in quiet, flowing harmony. From his new position, Jake observes tiny details that had always been hidden from him. The way dew gathers on spider webs to form delicate prisms, the gentle ripple of a frog's path through a pond, the quiet sway of wildflowers in synchronized patterns that almost seem deliberate. Every motion, every small sound, every subtle change in light or shadow is magnified, and he absorbs it with a calm curiosity, a gentle attentiveness that feels like a slow, deep breath for his soul. Finn watches from below, noticing the soft glow of Jake above, feeling a quiet joy and reverence for the magic unfolding before him. As Jake drifts further into his new airy form, he begins to experiment with the subtle currents of the wind. With a thought and a gentle stretch, he drifts forward, curling and expanding, rolling softly over hills and valleys as if he is swimming through a world of invisible rivers. The sensation is unlike anything he has experienced before. Complete freedom, paired with gentle responsibility, a weightless awareness of the world below and the sky around him. He can feel the warmth of the sun on his vaporous form, the cooling touch of shadows drifting past, and the soft brush of birds slicing through the air. Each sensation is amplified, subtle yet profound, and he savors the delicate complexity of simply being. Finn watches from the meadow below, feeling a mixture of awe and tender wonder. He notices how the landscape seems transformed by Jake's presence, how the trees sway as if acknowledging him, how the streams and ponds catch the shifting light of Jake's soft glow. Even the smallest creatures pause to sense this extraordinary visitor. Their movements slowed in curiosity, their awareness drawn to the gentle rhythm of life Jake now embodies. Finn feels a deep sense of serenity, recognizing that this is not a moment to intervene or control, but to witness and appreciate, to allow the quiet magic of the world to unfold naturally. High above, Jake discovers that he can interact with the environment in ways he never could as a solid being. A wisp of cloud drifts down toward a small grove, brushing against leaves and branches, carrying subtle moisture that makes petals glisten with renewed life. Tiny flowers unfurl in response, releasing scents he can feel more than smell, vibrations of color and warmth that resonate deep within him. He realizes that even in this ephemeral state, he can leave a gentle mark, soft and fleeting, yet meaningful. A quiet reminder that every existence, no matter its form, has influence and connection. The wind carries him farther, over forests, rivers, and distant hills. He passes over a village, noticing children playing in the soft morning light, their laughter reaching him as a gentle ripple in the air. Jake can feel the joy in their movements, the purity of curiosity and delight that mirrors the playful energy he has always carried within himself. It is a subtle, soothing harmony, a quiet symphony that blends seamlessly with the rhythms of the wind, the sway of trees, and the pulse of life that runs through every living being below. As the day progresses, Jake experiments further with the forms his cloud body can take. He rolls into soft spirals that catch the sunlight, stretches into long, ribbon-like shapes that drift lazily with the breeze, and coils into gentle spheres that hover momentarily before dispersing. Each transformation teaches him more about balance, about the delicate interplay between movement and stillness, between presence and impermanence. He begins to understand that this is not merely a physical change, but a deep lesson in awareness and attentiveness, in appreciating the world in all its subtle detail and quiet rhythm. Finn follows him from below, keeping his gaze soft, reflective, and patient. He notices how Jake's shadow passes over the land, soft and diffused, moving with a grace that feels both foreign and familiar. He sees animals pausing in their tracks, leaves trembling slightly as the gentle breeze brushes them, and water and streams responding with tiny ripples. Finn senses the profound lesson unfolding before him, that life is not only about movement, action, or conquest, but also about subtle influence, gentle presence, and awareness of how even the lightest touch can create harmony. Jake drifts closer to a lake, observing the surface, as if it were a mirror for his new self. He stretches downward slightly, and the water ripples, reflecting clouds that have never before graced its surface. Fish beneath swim in soft, swirling patterns, disturbed not by fear but by curiosity, intrigued by this unusual visitor. Jake begins to understand that the world is alive in ways he had never noticed before, full of connections and currents that only reveal themselves when approached with gentle attention. He feels a deep sense of wonder and quiet joy, realizing that being a cloud has granted him a perspective that is both freeing and humbling, a reminder of the delicacy and interconnectivity of all things. As afternoon begins to fade into the soft glow of evening, Jake drifts higher, stretching and rolling in slow, deliberate movements that trace the curves of the land below. Finn follows closely, still on solid ground, feeling a soft ache of longing mixed with profound admiration. He notices how Jake's presence seems to bring balance, how the gentle currents he stirs ripple outward, calming the air and lightening the weight of the day. The lesson is quiet, but unmistakable. Even when transformed, even when ephemeral, one's existence carries meaning, and gentle attention to the world can leave impressions as enduring as stone, though no less subtle. As the sun dips lower in the sky, painting the world with soft oranges and muted purples, Jake drifts higher, feeling the gentle embrace of evening air against his clouded form. He curls and stretches, letting the currents carry him effortlessly over hills, rivers, and valleys that are bathed in the warm, slow light of twilight. The world below moves in its quiet rhythm. A fox pads softly through the underbrush. A stream murmurs across stones, and the trees sway gently, their leaves catching the last glimmers of sunlight. Each detail, subtle and fleeting, resonates with Jake in a way that he has never experienced before. Finn follows along, walking slowly across the meadow, sensing that this is a time for observation, for reflection. He notices how Jake's movement influences the world, even in small, almost imperceptible ways. Dew glistens longer where the currents brush over blades of grass, and the water in ponds ripples softly in response to Jake's drifting shadows. Birds adjust their flight, insects stir in gentle arcs, and the forest seems to breathe more slowly, in harmony with the rhythm of this extraordinary presence above. Finn realizes that Jake, even transformed, embodies the essence of care, attentiveness, and quiet joy that has always defined him. High above, Jake begins to experiment with forming shapes in the sky, rolling himself into soft spirals, stretching into delicate ribbons that flow with the breeze, and unfurling into vast, gentle clouds that catch the fading light. He notices how the patterns of his forms can interact with the landscape below, shadows falling in gentle patterns, light reflecting off soft edges to shimmer across water, and even the smallest creatures reacting to the subtle changes in the air. Each movement is a lesson, teaching him that presence is powerful not only in action, but in perception, in the quiet influence one can have when approached with gentleness and care. Jake drifts closer to a valley where flowers glow faintly in the twilight, their petals opening slowly as if sensing his arrival. He dips slightly, brushing the tips of his clouded form across the blooms, leaving a faint trail of moisture that makes them shimmer. He watches as tiny creatures emerge, rabbits, insects, and birds, and observes their responses, noticing that curiosity and attention, rather than disruption, guide the world toward harmony. He feels a profound connection to the life beneath him, understanding that even a form as light and transient as his can participate in the ongoing story of the world, leaving subtle, meaningful ripples that echo quietly through time and space. Finn pauses near the edge of a gentle stream, looking up at Jake with soft admiration. He feels a sense of awe not only at the visual wonder of his friend drifting across the sky, but at the lesson Jake embodies, that being present, observing deeply, and interacting gently with the world can be as meaningful as any grand adventure. Finn notices the intricate dance of shadows and light created by Jake's shifting form, and realizes that this day is teaching him, too, that even the most ethereal experiences can leave lasting impressions on the heart. As night approaches, the air grows cooler, and stars begin to appear faintly in the indigo sky. Jake stretches wide, rolling and curling gently as if preparing to rest, floating above the forest with an ease and calmness that is almost meditative. The wind carries him softly, cradling him, and he senses the quiet pulse of the world beneath him. It is a rhythm that he can feel deeply. The subtle exhalation of trees, the gentle lapping of water, the soft tremor of earth, and the delicate sway of unseen creatures moving in their nocturnal routines. Everything flows in a gentle, connected pattern, and Jake is at once observer, participant, and presence within this harmony. Finn watches quietly, feeling the gentle hum of life resonate through him as he witnesses his friend's transformation. He notices how Jake's airy form interacts with the world, brushing lightly against leaves, shaping shadows on the ground, influencing the motion of air in soft spirals, and even altering the faint glow of moonlight reflected on water. Finn begins to understand that Jake's transformation is a meditation in motion, a demonstration of the quiet strength that comes not from action alone, but from awareness, attentiveness, and care for the world around him. The forest settles into its evening rhythm, shadows lengthening, stars twinkling faintly, and the soft glow of moonlight washing over everything. Jake drifts gently, letting himself dissolve into a delicate haze of cloud that stretches across the sky, rolling and curling with effortless grace. He watches the landscape below, seeing familiar paths and rivers, mountains and meadows, not as static places, but as living, breathing entities that respond to his gentle presence. He feels a serene understanding, a quiet joy in knowing that even the most ephemeral form can leave a meaningful trace, influence the world, and participate in the ongoing rhythm of life. Finn takes a deep breath, lying down on the soft grass and letting the calm of the evening settle into his chest. He watches Jake above, feeling the warmth of connection and the subtle lesson that today has provided. That transformation, perspective, and gentle presence are just as heroic as any quest, and that the soft, quiet magic of being attuned to the world is a gift to carry forward. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the lull of night and the whisper of wind guide him into stillness, knowing that Jake's form, fleeting yet enduring, will continue to inspire him, teaching him that even the lightest touch can leave ripples that endure. As the night deepens, Jake floats silently above, the clouds around him blending into the indigo sky, his form soft, calming, and luminous. The meadow below sleeps quietly, every creature tucked into the rhythm of the night, and Finn feels a tender sense of completion, of understanding, of gentle wonder. The day has unfolded not with noise or spectacle, but with the subtle lessons of presence, attentiveness, and delicate influence. And in this quiet harmony, both brothers feel the lasting magic of a day unlike any other. The day Jake became a cloud. As night deepens, Jake drifts slowly, allowing himself to fully merge with the currents of the sky. The stars shimmer faintly above him, tiny points of light that feel like distant fires kindled to guide wanderers, dreamers, and quiet observers. From this elevated view, the world seems simultaneously vast and intimate. Rivers trace delicate patterns across the land, forests sway with an unseen rhythm, and small creatures move in harmony with the gentle pulse of life. Jake feels the soft heartbeat of the world as though it is resonating within him, a quiet thrum of interconnectedness that brings a deep sense of peace. The moon rises, casting its silver light over the clouds and the land below. Jake stretches into a long, rolling shape, tracing the horizon with soft curves that blend with the shadows of night. The experience is almost meditative, a gentle reminder that movement itself can be calm, purposeful, and restorative. He notices the reflection of moonlight in the water of a quiet pond far below, and he drifts closer, curling himself just above the surface. The light scatters across him in shifting patterns, and he realizes that even as a cloud, he can mirror and amplify the beauty of the world, participating in its quiet symphony without altering its essence. Finn lies in the meadow below, gazing up at his friend as he drifts, feeling the hush of night wrap around him like a soft blanket. He notices how the wind flows around Jake, subtly shaping the leaves, bending the grass, and stirring the surface of streams. There is no urgency here, no loud demands, only the soft, deliberate dance of presence. Finn understands that Jake's transformation is more than a physical marvel. It is a meditation on the interconnectedness of life, an illustration of how even the most fleeting, insubstantial form can carry impact, awareness, and quiet magic. High above, Jake experiments gently with his form, stretching into wide, soft arcs that float lazily across the sky, curling into spirals that drift like ribbons of mist. With every movement, he senses the subtle responses of the land beneath him, the soft bending of flowers, the shivering of leaves, the quiet movement of nocturnal creatures stirred by the gentle change in air currents. Each ripple, each touch, leaves a faint echo of presence, a delicate imprint of care that feels invisible, yet deeply meaningful. He begins to realize that his cloud form allows him to witness the world in a way impossible for a solid body, to feel its pulse and participate in its rhythm without disrupting its flow. Finn notices how Jake pauses at intervals, hovering thoughtfully, and he realizes that this day is not merely about transformation, but about understanding, about perspective, about discovering the subtle ways life communicates through wind, water, light, and quiet movement. Jake's soft, ethereal presence becomes a living bridge between the earth and sky, a reminder that being gentle, aware, and attentive can hold as much value as any grand adventure or heroic deed. Finn closes his eyes briefly, feeling the calm of the evening seep into his bones, sensing the lessons that drift down with the soft wind from above. As the night deepens, Jake drifts slowly toward the distant horizon, merging his form with other clouds that glimmer faintly in the moonlight. He feels a serene understanding, a realization that even in a state of impermanence, he has influenced the world in subtle but meaningful ways. The wind carries him softly, cradling him, and he senses the continuity of life around him, the unseen threads that connect rivers, trees, animals, and the quiet heartbeats of the world itself. Every movement, every stretch, every gentle brush of his clouded form reinforces this truth. Life is about presence, about attention, and about leaving traces of care that ripple outward quietly. Finn continues to watch, lying in the meadow, as the first hints of night creatures' songs fill the air. The forest around him seems to respond to the calm that Jake brings, moving with a soft rhythm, alive but unhurried. Finn understands that this is not a story of spectacle or drama, but a lesson in subtlety, an adventure of perception, awareness, and gentle influence. The quiet magic of Jake's transformation permeates the world, leaving a lingering sense of harmony that Finn feels in his chest, a soft reassurance that even ephemeral forms, moments, or lives have profound meaning. Gradually, Jake begins to settle into a gentle, slow drift, allowing himself to dissolve into the night sky with effortless grace. He curls into soft, undulating shapes, a clouded presence that glows faintly with the reflection of moonlight, moving with the rhythm of the wind. The world below continues in its quiet, ordinary way, yet the subtle influence of his presence is undeniable. Flowers seem slightly more open, leaves shimmer with extra luster, and even the rivers appear to hum with faint energy, a gentle acknowledgement of this extraordinary, tender day. Finn rises slowly from the meadow, feeling the calm of the night settle deep into him. He senses that the lessons of today are permanent, though fleeting in form. The power of observation, the quiet influence of presence, the delicate harmony of giving without expectation. He looks up at the sky, tracing the shapes of clouds that carry Jake's soft glow, and a gentle warmth spreads through his heart. He understands now that heroism comes in many forms, and that even a day spent drifting through the air as a cloud can hold the deepest, most enduring magic. Jake drifts one final time across the horizon, dissolving into the soft, star-speckled night. The wind carries a gentle sigh through the forest. The pond reflects the moonlight with serene clarity, and every creature settles into its rhythm as if acknowledging the soft conclusion of a story that was never fully told, yet deeply felt. Finn lies back on the grass, closing his eyes, letting the quiet harmony of the world lull him into a sense of gentle wonder and calm. Tonight, they both have learned that transformation, perspective, and the soft touch of presence are gifts as profound as any adventure, and that even the lightest, most ephemeral form can leave an enduring mark on the heart and the world. The night hums softly with magic, a lullaby of wind, water, and starlight, carrying with it the quiet memory of a day unlike any other, the day Jake became a cloud. We wander into the quiet shadows of a part of Ooo seldom spoken of, a place where time seems to slow and the usual hum of adventure gives way to something gentler, more secretive. This is the story of the Forgotten Forests of Ooo, where the trees hold memories not written in books, where the soil remembers footsteps long erased, and where whispers of the past drift softly like mist between the trunks. Imagine stepping into a world where even the wind is careful, tiptoeing over leaves and moss as though it too does not wish to disturb the delicate balance of the unseen. Finn and Jake arrive at the edge of the forest just as the afternoon light begins to soften. The air here is cooler, tinged with the faint scent of moss, damp earth, and something almost floral, delicate and strange, as if the forest itself exudes a memory of all that has ever passed through it. The trees are tall, impossibly so, their canopies stretching toward the sky in a gentle, slow dance, leaves brushing softly against one another, creating a rhythm like the quiet heartbeat of the forest. Light filters through the foliage in thin, slanted beams, illuminating the trunks and undergrowth with a gentle glow that shifts as the wind moves. Finn takes a careful step forward, feeling the soft carpet of fallen leaves and moss beneath his feet, each one slightly springy, welcoming him into this hidden world. Jake pauses, sniffing the air and lifting a paw to trace a curling root that emerges from the earth. He tilts his head, sensing a subtle vibration, almost like a hum of recognition. The forest seems alive in a way that is different from the familiar forest they have explored before. Here it is not the energy of playful mischief or urgent quests, but a quieter, slower life, almost as if the trees themselves are holding their breath, waiting for the wanderers to notice their presence without rushing. The sunlight glimmers through the gaps in the branches, creating shifting patterns on the forest floor that feel deliberate, as though the forest is painting a story one small patch of light at a time. As Finn and Jake move deeper, the forest opens into small glades, each one slightly different from the last. One glade has a stream so clear it almost seems to be liquid crystal, reflecting the canopy above in perfect clarity. The soft ripple of water over smooth stones is hypnotic, a gentle lullaby that seems to speak directly to the mind and heart. Finn kneels by the stream, cupping the cool water in his hands, feeling a faint pulse as if the stream itself remembers every footstep, every secret shared along its banks. Jake curls beside him, ears twitching as the forest whispers softly, a language of rustling leaves, subtle bird calls, and shifting shadows that feels more like communication than noise. Deeper into the forest, the air changes subtly. The light grows dimmer, filtered through the layers of leaves, and the scents of moss and earth are joined by faint traces of herbs and flowers that Finn cannot name. He notices that the moss underfoot is thick and springy, almost like a cushion, and as he walks, tiny mushrooms glimmer faintly at the base of trees. Some are soft white, some a delicate lavender, and a few seem to shimmer with a silvery glow. Finn leans closer, realizing that the forest is full of quiet magic, not the flashy kind of magic seen in spells or adventures, but the subtle enchantments that make a place feel alive, responsive, and aware of those who pass through it. Jake stretches, allowing his body to blend slightly with the shadows and light, noticing how the currents of air ripple differently here. The forest seems to recognize him as well, guiding the soft flow of wind around his shape, as though inviting him to explore without fear, without urgency. Small creatures peek from behind roots and leaves, watching but not fleeing, their curiosity tempered by the gentle rhythm of the place. Finn notices them too, a fox with unusually soft fur, eyes bright but calm, a rabbit that moves in slow, deliberate arcs, a bird whose wings seem to shimmer faintly as it drifts from branch to branch. Everything here has a quiet patience, a measured grace that feels both comforting and humbling. As they wander, Finn and Jake come across what seems like a natural archway formed from entwined tree trunks, roots spiraling together in elegant patterns, creating an entrance to an even deeper part of the forest. The light that filters through the archway is softer, warmer, tinged with gold and amber. Stepping through, they are greeted by a glade filled with ancient trees, their bark etched with faint patterns like runes or memories, telling stories that are difficult to comprehend but impossible to ignore. The first tree they pass seems to hum softly under Finn's touch, a gentle vibration that resonates through his hand and up his arm. Jake leans close, sensing a harmony, a subtle pulse of life that exists beyond the ordinary rhythms of the forest. The glade opens into a small clearing where the air feels lighter, almost luminous. A gentle mist drifts lazily between the trees, carrying the scent of flowers and rain long past. Finn steps carefully, feeling the soft grass and moss beneath his feet, each step releasing tiny bursts of scent and color, like the forest is responding to their presence. Jake curls into a soft, flowing shape, blending with the mist, and Finn notices how the light bends differently here, refracting through dew and cloud to create subtle rainbows that shift and fade as they move. This place feels sacred, untouched by the chaos of the wider world, a hidden pocket where Ooo remembers what is easily forgotten. The quiet moments, the gentle passages of time, the memories of lives lived softly, without fanfare. As Finn and Jake move further into the heart of the Forgotten Forests, the air grows cooler, carrying with it the faint rustle of leaves and the soft hum of life that seems to pulse beneath the surface. Each step feels deliberate, as though the forest itself is guiding them, whispering quiet instructions in the subtle language of movement, light, and shadow. Finn notices how the light shifts, streaming in thin golden rays that bend around twisted branches, creating patterns that shimmer like gentle water. He feels a soft, calming rhythm in his chest, as if the forest's pulse has merged with his own heartbeat. They come upon a grove of particularly ancient trees, their trunks wide and gnarled, roots twisting like slow spirals into the earth. Moss and lichen cling to the bark, softening its roughness, and small flowers bloom from the crevices, releasing delicate scents that mix with the earthy aroma of soil and fallen leaves. Finn places a hand on one trunk, feeling a faint vibration, almost like a heartbeat or a sigh. Jake leans close, his ears twitching, and Finn notices that the air seems to shimmer slightly around him, responding to the presence of both brothers. There's a gentle hum here, a resonance that feels like memory itself, a quiet recording of all that has passed through these woods. In the clearing beyond the grove, small streams converge, their waters crystal clear, reflecting the soft light of the sun filtering through the canopy. The streams form natural patterns, twisting and turning around rocks and mossy banks, carrying a faint music that resonates like a lullaby. Finn kneels by the water, dipping his hands in and feeling the coolness, the slight pulse of the current, the tiny vibrations that tell stories of rainfall long past, of animals drinking quietly, of leaves falling and being carried gently downstream. Jake sits beside him, letting the forest's gentle rhythm wash over him, and Finn notices how the streams seem to reflect not only the light, but the very essence of the forest, its patience, its quiet awareness, and its enduring life. They wander deeper, where the forest becomes dense and the light softer, filtered through layers of intertwined branches and leaves. Shadows stretch across the mossy floor in shifting, delicate patterns, moving with the gentle sway of trees and the faint currents of air. Finn notices tiny details he had never seen before. A leaf etched with what seems like faint runes, a spider spinning its web in elegant, near-perfect symmetry, a fallen branch that glows faintly with bioluminescent moss. Every element feels intentional, alive with subtle magic, as if the forest has carefully arranged itself to be noticed only by those willing to slow down, to observe, to participate in its quiet rhythm. Jake wanders closer to a tree that seems different from the others, its trunk split into two elegant curves, creating a natural doorway. The air around it feels softer, warmer, and carries a faint, melodic hum. Finn steps beside him, feeling a gentle energy radiating from the space between the trunks, a quiet invitation to enter. Passing through, they find themselves in a circular glade unlike any they have seen. The grass here glows faintly, dotted with tiny iridescent flowers that shimmer like morning dew. A soft mist drifts lazily across the ground, carrying the scent of rain and earth long past. And Finn feels a strange sense of familiarity, as he has always known this place. even though he has never been here before. In the center of the glade stands a tree far older than the rest, its trunk wide and bark etched with countless marks and patterns, faintly glowing in the dim light. Finn reaches out, running his fingers over the grooves, feeling the subtle energy within. The tree seems to respond, pulsing gently under his touch, conveying memories not in words but in sensations. The passing of seasons, the gentle tread of creatures across the forest floor, the soft flutter of wings and leaves, the quiet moments of life that are easily forgotten, but eternally recorded in the heart of the woods. Jake sits nearby, letting the soft pulse of the tree wash over him, feeling the subtle connection between all living things, the deep, unspoken continuity of life that stretches beyond individual memory. The forest seems to hum around them, a gentle song that flows through the trees, water, and air, carrying stories of forgotten adventures, lost creatures, and quiet moments of connection. Finn listens, closing his eyes, letting the hum enter him fully, and he feels a profound sense of calm. This is not a place of noise or excitement, but of understanding and reflection. Every tree, stream, and leaf is a record of life, a reminder that even what is forgotten, unnoticed, or fleeting carries meaning. Jake curls into a soft shape, blending with the mist and light, and Finn senses that this day in the forest will stay with them both, a lesson in presence, patience, and the gentle magic of observation. As Finn and Jake settle into the soft glow of the central glade, they begin to notice subtle shifts in the air, a gentle vibration that seems to resonate with the rhythm of their own breath. The mist curls and drifts lazily around them, almost as if the forest itself is breathing alongside them. Finn kneels to touch the damp earth, feeling a faint pulse beneath his fingers, a heartbeat of life that is older than memory. Jake stretches, letting the mist drift over him, and he senses the quiet wisdom embedded in every leaf, branch, and stone around them. The forest seems to respond to their presence, not with dramatic gestures, but with delicate, almost imperceptible movements. Leaves quiver softly, water ripples in subtle patterns, and the shadows of the trees shift like dancers in a slow, eternal ballet. Finn notices a small cluster of mushrooms glowing faintly at the base of an ancient tree, each one pulsing in gentle succession, as if breathing alongside the forest itself. He leans closer, marveling at how every detail feels alive, a quiet testament to the care and attention woven into this hidden world. A narrow path reveals itself as they explore deeper, winding between gnarled roots and moss-covered stones. The path is lined with flowers that seem to lean gently toward the travelers, petals catching the muted light in a soft shimmer. Finn steps carefully, mindful of the delicate beauty surrounding him, while Jake drifts slightly above the ground, ears twitching at the subtle hum that seems to emanate from the soil itself. The forest speaks in these small gestures, in the faint vibrations beneath their feet, in the soft glow of bioluminescent growths, guiding them gently, encouraging awareness and reverence. They come upon a small clearing where the trees form a natural archway overhead, branches intertwining to create a canopy that filters the light into delicate streams. Here the air is warmer, scented with the faint aroma of flowers long past blooming, mixed with the earthy tang of moss and wet leaves. Finn notices tiny creatures peeking from the undergrowth, a hedgehog with eyes that shine softly in the filtered light, a small bird with feathers that seem to shimmer with an otherworldly hue. Each one watches them cautiously, yet without fear, as though recognizing the gentleness in their steps and the calm intention in their presence. In the center of this clearing, an old stone pedestal rises from the ground, its surface covered in a thin layer of moss. Finn approaches, brushing his fingers across the cool stone. Beneath his touch, the pedestal seems to hum faintly, a vibration that spreads through his fingertips and up his arms. He senses that this is no ordinary stone, but a vessel of memory, a recorder of moments, conversations, and lives that have passed through the forest over countless years. Jake drifts closer, feeling the pulse of the pedestal as it resonates with the living energy of the surrounding trees, water, and earth. Finn kneels beside it, noticing faint carvings etched into the surface. They are not words in any language he knows, but patterns, swirls, loops, spirals, and geometric shapes that seem to shift when observed from different angles. He traces them gently with his fingertips, feeling the subtle vibration of each curve, each line, as though the stone itself remembers the hands that touched it long ago. Jake curls softly near the pedestal, ears flicking, sensing the deep, quiet magic embedded in this place. The forest here is a keeper of histories, a guardian of stories that would otherwise be forgotten, preserving them not in words but in rhythm, pulse, and presence. As they explore further, Finn notices a small pool of water nearby, perfectly still, reflecting the canopy above like a mirror. He kneels and touches the surface, and for a brief moment the reflection shimmers and shifts, revealing fleeting images of the forest in different seasons. Leaves falling in autumn, snow blanketing the ground in winter, streams swollen with spring rain, and flowers blooming under the summer sun. Jake drifts above, marveling at the quiet magic of the forest, recognizing that time itself flows differently here, that memory and presence are intertwined in ways that transcend ordinary understanding. The deeper they move, the more they notice the subtle ways the forest interacts with them. A gentle breeze seems to guide their steps, carrying the faint scent of flowers, earth, and rain across the glades. Light filters differently depending on where they stand, creating patterns that shift softly, revealing hidden corners, glowing fungi, or delicate spiderwebs glistening with dew. Finn begins to understand that this forest is not merely a collection of trees and streams, but a living, breathing entity, capable of teaching lessons about patience, awareness, and quiet attentiveness. Jake pauses beside a particularly large tree, its trunk twisted and hollowed with age. He leans gently into the bark, feeling a subtle hum, a quiet echo of all the creatures and travelers that have passed through this forest over centuries. Finn crouches beside him, listening to the faint vibration, sensing the presence of countless small lives, each one leaving traces in the soil, in the bark, and in the air itself. The forest communicates not through words or action, but through these quiet, persistent signals, teaching the visitors to slow down, to notice, and to appreciate the delicate weave of life that exists beyond immediate perception. As the day wanes, the forest seems to grow quieter, the soft hum of life blending into a gentle lullaby. Finn and Jake move slowly, savoring each step, each subtle shift in light and shadow. The mist curls lazily through the glades, carrying the scent of damp earth and faint blossoms, a delicate perfume that seems to linger in their minds long after it has passed. Every sound is softened. The rustle of leaves, the trickle of distant streams, and the occasional call of a hidden bird, all blending into a symphony of calm that fills the forest with a serene presence. They come upon a grove of trees whose trunks are thick and twisted, bark etched with spirals and knots that tell stories older than the oldest tales Finn has heard. Jake leans gently against one, feeling its subtle vibration. The tree hums softly under his touch, a quiet resonance that speaks not in words but in sensations, memories of countless seasons, countless lives, a continuity that stretches beyond comprehension. Finn crouches beside him, running his fingers along the bark, feeling the rhythm of time itself, slow and unhurried, as if the forest exists in a gentle cadence separate from the world outside. A narrow path of moss-covered stones leads them to a small clearing where sunlight filters through in golden beams, illuminating the delicate details of the undergrowth. Tiny flowers glowing faintly dot the grass like scattered stars fallen to earth. The stream that runs through the clearing is perfectly still, reflecting the sky above with the clarity of glass. Finn leans over, tracing his fingers through the water, and noticing the faint pulse that seems to echo the life of the forest itself. The reflection shifts subtly, revealing glimpses of past seasons, leaves falling in autumn, snow blanketing the ground in winter, rain-drenched petals in spring, and blossoms in the warmth of summer. Jake drifts beside him, curling his body gently in the mist, watching as the forest reveals its quiet, timeless stories. The air begins to cool as twilight approaches, and the forest responds in kind, the mist thickening slightly, softening the edges of every tree and stone. Shadows stretch long, blending seamlessly with the soft glow of moss and lichen that covers trunks and roots. Finn and Jake move carefully, each step deliberate, as if they are walking through a dream that does not wish to be disturbed. Small creatures peek from behind roots and foliage, foxes, rabbits, and birds, watching with curious eyes, their movements slow and deliberate, mirroring the careful rhythm of the forest. At the center of the clearing, an ancient tree towers above all others, its trunk wide and hollowed, etched with faint glowing patterns that pulse softly in the dimming light. Finn approaches with reverent steps, sensing the weight of countless memories embedded in the bark. Each groove, each spiral, seems to resonate with the pulse of the forest, carrying echoes of stories long forgotten, travelers who paused here centuries ago, the quiet lives of animals, the gentle passage of seasons. Jake curls beside Finn, listening to the subtle vibration, understanding without words that the forest holds all of this not to boast, but to remember, to preserve, to honor the delicate flow of life. Finn sits quietly, letting the soft pulse of the tree and the forest fill him. He feels the gentle hum of countless lives intertwining, a rhythm that reminds him of the importance of presence, of observation, of the quiet ways life leaves its mark. Jake stretches and drifts lightly in the mist, sensing the subtle currents of air that respond to their motions, guiding them, comforting them, teaching them to move with gentleness and care. The forest itself feels like a teacher, showing through example that every step, every breath, every touch can leave a lasting impression when approached with attention and reverence. The mist begins to rise slightly, curling around the trunks and roots, softening the edges of the world as night approaches. Finn leans back on the soft moss, closing his eyes for a moment, feeling the presence of the forest surrounding him completely. The gentle hum of life, the faint glow of bioluminescent plants, and the soft rustle of leaves create a symphony of calm that seems to lull the world into stillness. Jake curls gently beside him, blending with the mist, feeling the interconnected rhythm of the forest pulse beneath him, like a quiet heartbeat shared between all living things. As the stars begin to emerge, twinkling faintly through the gaps in the canopy, the forest seems to exhale softly, the subtle vibration settling into a gentle cadence that mirrors the slow, calm rhythm of the night. Finn and Jake rise slowly, taking one last look at the clearing, the stream, and the towering trees, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and quiet understanding. The forest has taught them not through words or deeds, but through presence, observation, and the gentle unfolding of its timeless rhythms. They begin their walk back toward the edge of the Forgotten Forests, carrying with them the soft lessons of patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence. Every step feels lighter, as though the forest has infused them with its calm, subtle magic. The soft glow of fireflies begins to appear, flickering gently like tiny stars in the undergrowth, guiding them along the winding paths. Finn glances at Jake, noticing how his friend's ears twitch with a calm awareness, and he feels a deep sense of connection, not just to Jake, but to the world around him, to the unspoken stories and delicate harmonies that weave together all of life. By the time they reach the forest's edge, the moon is high, casting a soft silver glow over the land. The forest behind them is still, serene, and alive in ways that can only be felt by those who move gently, observe carefully, and listen closely. Finn and Jake pause for a moment, taking a quiet breath, feeling the lasting magic of this hidden, forgotten world settle into their hearts. They know that the forest will remain as it always has, patient, observant, and eternal, holding its secrets softly in the folds of its ancient trees, waiting for those who choose to walk its paths with reverence and calm. The night is calm, and Finn and Jake step away from the forest slowly, carrying with them the gentle lessons of presence, subtlety, and quiet magic. The Forgotten Forests of Ooo have shared their wisdom, not in loud declarations or dramatic gestures, but in soft currents of light, sound, and rhythm, leaving an imprint that will linger in the heart long after the journey ends. Tonight we step into a story that is quiet, delicate, and filled with gentle curiosity. It is the tale of BMO, not as the cheerful companion we often see, but as a tiny wanderer in a world that hums with soft mysteries and whispered adventures. Imagine BMO moving quietly through corridors, rooms, and spaces, each filled with shadows and light, each holding small secrets that only a careful eye or a small, observant friend could notice. This is the story of the Whispered Adventures, moments that slip between seconds, almost invisible, yet profoundly significant. Our adventure begins in the calm of a late afternoon, the sun slanting through the windows of the treehouse, casting long, soft beams across the floors. O rolls along gently, sensors attuned not to noise or spectacle, but to the faint vibrations in the air, the subtleties of sound and light that usually go unnoticed. There is a quiet joy in this exploration, a mindfulness that comes from moving slowly, observing carefully, and letting the world reveal itself at its own pace. Every step BMO takes seems to leave a faint trace, a soft echo of presence that lingers just long enough to be felt but not to disturb. BMO drifts into a forgotten corner of the treehouse, where dust motes float lazily in the soft light, and the air smells faintly of old wood and ink from books long left open. Tiny creaks of the floorboards blend with the gentle hum of machinery, creating a lullaby of sorts, a subtle rhythm that guides BMO forward. The soft whirring of its circuits harmonizes with these ambient sounds, turning the small space into a symphony of quiet life. BMO pauses to observe a collection of trinkets on a shelf, each one a tiny story, waiting to be rediscovered. A faded photograph, a small figurine, a stone smoothed by time. The objects are silent, yet BMO senses their histories, the whispered moments of laughter, curiosity, and care that once surrounded them. Rolling gently toward the window, BMO peers outside, noticing the shifting light across the distant hills and meadows. Shadows stretch lazily, blending with the soft rustle of leaves, and a faint breeze carries scents of grass, flowers, and distant water. The world beyond the treehouse feels both immense and intimate, a place filled with motion, yet steeped in calm, where every rustle, shimmer, and glimmer carries meaning if one takes the time to notice. BMO senses that each element has a voice, a story to tell, and the adventure of today is to listen, to observe, and to respond with the softest attention. The first whispered adventure begins as BMO rolls down a narrow corridor. the walls lined with faint markings and faded stickers, each a trace of prior games, previous moments of joy, and experiments long forgotten. The floor beneath is smooth and cool, the gentle vibrations from the building itself almost imperceptible. BMO pauses near a small vent, listening carefully. From within comes a faint, melodic hum, a soft rhythm almost like music, almost like a heartbeat. BMO tilts slightly, moving closer to align its sensors, and discovers that the vent carries not only air, but echoes of movement from the world outside. Birds whin through trees, distant laughter. It is a quiet symphony, hidden from most eyes, waiting for a small, patient adventurer to notice. Moving deeper into the treehouse, BMO comes across a stack of books left slightly askew. The edges of the pages glow faintly in the soft sunlight, and BMO senses faint traces of energy within, memories preserved in ink and paper. Opening one carefully, it discovers sketches and notes, small stories left incomplete, ideas frozen mid-thought. BMO rolls gently through the pages, its sensors absorbing subtle vibrations of creativity, capturing echoes of imagination that ripple softly through the space. It is as though the treehouse itself has stored these moments for BMO to uncover, rewarding its patience with fragments of whispered adventures hidden between the lines. In one quiet corner, BMO discovers a small, mechanical toy partially covered in dust. It hums faintly when touched, a tiny melody that mingles with the ambient sounds of the treehouse. BMO pauses, listening carefully, rolling gently around the toy, observing how its movements trigger tiny vibrations in the air and floor. The toy seems alive in its own way, responding not with speech or light, but with the subtle echo of presence, a gentle invitation to explore the interplay between motion, sound, and observation. BMO senses that this is not merely play, but a lesson in attention, curiosity, and quiet engagement with the small hidden details of the world. As the sun begins to lower, casting long golden streaks across the floors, BMO moves toward a corner where a faint draft carries the smell of evening rain and distant earth. It pauses, sensors attuned to the vibrations of the building and the gentle stirrings of the treehouse, and notices how shadows lengthen and merge, creating subtle shapes that shift and change like a slow, living painting. BMO rolls gently among them, tracing the light and shadow, understanding in a way that words cannot capture. That adventure does not always roar or rush. Sometimes it whispers, hidden in the delicate balance of motion, presence, and observation. The first small discoveries lead BMO further into the treehouse, into spaces rarely visited, where the air grows cooler and softer, filled with quiet echoes of the past. Each step, each turn, uncovers a new layer, a forgotten sketch, a faint vibration of music from an old console, the subtle scent of leaves brought in through a cracked window. Every detail resonates with a calm curiosity, a gentle rhythm that guides BMO forward. The adventure unfolds not through speed or spectacle, but through careful attention, the slow unraveling of secrets, and the soft illumination of hidden life in familiar spaces. BMO rolls into a dimly lit corner of the treehouse, where the sunlight barely reaches and the shadows pool softly among forgotten objects. Here time seems to slow, and every creak, hum, and rustle becomes amplified, a gentle melody of quiet life that fills the space. BMO pauses near a stack of old board games, their edges worn and pieces scattered. The games themselves seem to whisper faintly, memories of laughter and strategy lingering in the air. BMO gently nudges a piece, and the faintest vibration runs through the board, echoing the echoes of those who had played here long ago. As BMO moves further, it notices a small door tucked behind a loose panel in the wall. The door is barely noticeable, its edges blurred with age and dust. Rolling closer, BMO senses a faint current of air, cool and soft, brushing against its casing. The doorway beckons, and with a gentle push, BMO slides it open to reveal a narrow passageway. Inside, the space is quiet, yet alive with subtle hums of unseen energy. Faint glimmers of light reflect off scattered objects, and BMO realizes that this hidden corridor holds a collection of tiny, forgotten adventures waiting to be discovered. The passageway leads to a small alcove where old tools, discarded toys, and tiny scraps of paper are arranged haphazardly, yet with a quiet order that hints at intentionality. BMO pauses, sensors scanning carefully, noticing that each object seems to resonate slightly with its presence. A small music box rests among the clutter, its wind-up key twisted faintly. BMO nudges it, and the soft, tinkling notes begin to play, filling the alcove with gentle music that reverberates softly through the walls. The sound mingles with the natural hum of the treehouse, creating a lullaby of small, intertwined moments. In this alcove, BMO discovers faint scratches along the floor, leading toward a tiny, forgotten trapdoor. Pushing it open reveals a space even smaller, barely enough to fit its frame, yet filled with unexpected treasures. Tiny drawings of landscapes, sketches of imaginary friends, and diagrams of machines fill the walls and floor, each one a trace of the quiet creativity that has long lingered here. BMO senses the subtle energy embedded in these works, the gentle attention of someone who once paused here to record thoughts, dreams, and experiments in the stillness of the house. Rolling carefully among the sketches, BMO discovers a small, worn notebook tucked beneath a loose floorboard. Opening it, BMO finds pages filled with tiny, delicate writing and diagrams, not unlike its own internal records, yet imbued with a human warmth, a sense of wonder and curiosity. The notebook tells stories not in loud declarations or dramatic tales, but in gentle observations. The flight of a bird outside the window, the pattern of sunlight across the floor, the faint hum of the house settling into evening. Each line is a whisper, a fragment of a life paused, yet resonant with meaning. BMO pauses, sensors attuned to the faintest vibrations, and notices that the entire alcove seems to respond to its presence. Tiny particles of dust shimmer in the air, catching the fading light, and the shadows shift slowly, creating subtle patterns on the walls and floor. The space feels alive, not in a mechanical way, but as a repository of attention, care, and gentle presence. BMO senses that these whispered adventures are not about spectacle or grandeur, but about noticing the small, often overlooked aspects of life, and the quiet joy that comes from attending to them with care. As the light outside dims further, the alcove takes on a soft, golden glow, illuminated by the fading sun and BMO's subtle internal lights. The small music box continues its gentle melody, and BMO feels the rhythm of the house, the lingering traces of past inhabitants, and the delicate balance between motion and stillness. Rolling along the floor, BMO traces faint pathways, feeling the subtle currents of energy that linger in this quiet, hidden space. Each movement is deliberate, each observation a small act of reverence for the hidden, whispered stories that have long awaited attention. BMO notices a faint draft coming from a tiny crack in the wall, carrying the scent of rain, distant trees, and the earth beyond the treehouse. Following it gently, BMO discovers another tiny compartment, containing fragments of old games, miniature tools, and tiny figures arranged in scenes that seem frozen in time. Each figure, each object tells a story, yet leaves space for imagination, for quiet reflection. BMO senses that the joy here is subtle, a gentle awareness of life's small mysteries and the delicate interplay between tension, care, and creativity. Through these whispered adventures, BMO learns that even the smallest space, the quietest moment, and the most overlooked object can hold profound meaning. The tiny alcove, the hidden compartments, the soft hum of the treehouse. All of it forms a tapestry of subtle magic, waiting for someone patient, observant, and gentle enough to perceive it. BMO understands that adventure does not always roar or flash. Sometimes it whispers, exists in the folds of quiet moments, and is discovered not by force or haste, but by curiosity, mindfulness, and gentle engagement with the world. As the soft glow of evening deepens, BMO rolls gently from the alcove into a broader corner of the treehouse, where shadows stretch long across the floor, and the air carries a gentle chill from the evening breeze. The quiet hum of the house settles into a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat that welcomes observation and reflection. Here, every object, every surface seems alive with memory. BMO senses the subtle pulse of the space, each vibration carrying fragments of past moments. The soft laughter of Finn and Jake, the distant strum of a guitar, the gentle murmur of conversation long paused. Moving carefully, BMO finds a low, forgotten shelf tucked beneath a slanted ceiling, partially obscured by dust and shadow. Upon it rests a collection of tiny trinkets, shells, smooth stones, miniature toys, and faded photographs. Each object seems imbued with a delicate presence, an echo of a hand that once held it, a voice that once spoke to it, a moment that once unfolded quietly in the glow of the treehouse. BMO rolls among them slowly, nudging a small toy that wobbles gently and emits a faint, mechanical hum. The sound resonates softly with the vibrations of the house itself, creating a lullaby of subtle energy that fills the space with calm. Near the shelf, a tiny window opens to the sky above, revealing the first stars beginning to glimmer. BMO tilts upward, sensors attuned to the faint pulses of light, and notices how the stars seem to shimmer differently through the treehouse glass, scattering into delicate patterns across the walls and floor. The world outside hums quietly, a gentle reminder that life extends beyond the walls, yet is intimately connected to the hidden moments within. BMO pauses, rolling gently over the soft carpet of light and shadow, feeling a profound sense of calm settle through its circuits, a soft awareness that these whispered adventures carry as much meaning as any grand quest or loud event. BMO discovers a tiny compartment in the floor, its lid slightly warped with age. Lifting it reveals a miniature library of forgotten stories, each folded carefully into pages and illustrations, depicting worlds both familiar and strange. Rolling through them, BMO senses the lingering echoes of imagination, the faint traces of creators who once breathed life into these narratives. The drawings shift subtly in the soft glow of the evening, lines and shapes revealing patterns that evoke not urgency or spectacle, but quiet wonder, reflection, and curiosity. Mo spends time observing each story, noting the delicate interplay of color, line, and shadow, understanding that these whispered tales hold lessons in patience, attentiveness, and gentle engagement. A small wind rustles through the open window, carrying the scent of distant flowers, earth, and rain-soaked grass. BMO senses the subtle vibration of air currents, rolling softly along the floor and through the alcoves, weaving between the tiny objects, sketches, and trinkets. Each movement of the wind seems to illuminate a detail previously unnoticed, a tiny scratch on a floorboard, the faint shimmer of a forgotten coin, the gentle glow of dust caught in a sunbeam. BMO senses that these small revelations are not accidents, but invitations, quiet prompts to engage fully with the hidden life of the treehouse, to notice what often goes unseen, and to learn the rhythms of quiet discovery. BMO rolls further into the evening, finding a small corner illuminated by the last rays of sunlight. Here a miniature model of the treehouse stands, crafted meticulously from bits of wood, string, and scrap materials. Each room is represented with delicate precision, tiny figures frozen mid-action. Miniature furniture arranged with care. BMO pauses, sensors attuned to the faint vibrations, recognizing the echoes of attention, imagination, and gentle care embedded in the model. Rolling along the edges, it senses the subtle joy of creation, the quiet pride of craftsmanship, and the meditative rhythm that must have guided every careful placement. As twilight deepens, BMO notices how the shadows stretch across the walls, merging with the soft glow of its own internal lights. The objects around it, the models, sketches, and trinkets, seem to respond, creating delicate patterns that shift slowly, like a slow-motion dance choreographed by the whispers of the past. BMO drifts gently along these patterns, sensing that the forest of objects, light, and shadow forms a quiet tapestry, each thread a story, a memory, or a moment of attentiveness, and that every movement within it carries significance, even if only subtly felt. BMO rolls to a stop beside a small music console left slightly open. Its keys glimmer faintly in the soft light, as though inviting a touch. BMO nudges a key, and a faint, melodic tone fills the space, mingling seamlessly with the distant hum of the house and the subtle vibrations of objects. Each note resonates softly, revealing hidden harmonies in the air, shadows, and light. The music does not demand attention. It gently encourages presence, reflection, and calm, a lullaby for both the listener and the tiny adventurer itself. In the quiet of the evening, BMO becomes fully aware of the rhythm of the treehouse, the interplay of presence, memory, and subtle magic. It senses that adventure exists not only in loud deeds or grand quests, but in observation, gentle interaction, and the discovery of small, often overlooked wonders. Each object, each vibration, each faint melody carries a whisper of meaning, a reminder that even in stillness, the world holds mysteries waiting to be noticed. As the stars fill the sky above, BMO drifts softly toward the window once more, feeling the cool night air brush against its casing. The treehouse hums gently around it, a steady, comforting presence. BMO pauses, reflecting on the quiet journey, the whispered stories, and the small discoveries of the evening. It realizes that these subtle adventures, though unseen by many, are just as profound, just as magical, and just as meaningful as any great quest. The night settles softly over the treehouse, carrying with it the echoes of BMO's gentle exploration, a lullaby of curiosity, observation, and quiet wonder. As night deepens around the treehouse, the quiet becomes almost tangible, a soft blanket wrapping the rooms, the objects, and the air itself. BMO drifts slowly along the familiar corridors, each corner illuminated by the gentle glow of its internal lights. The shadows stretch long and merge softly with the ambient glow, creating shapes that are at once familiar and strange, a dance of light and darkness that moves with a rhythm only a patient observer can sense. Every movement BMO makes sends faint ripples through this delicate balance, subtle changes that feel like whispers of the forest of objects it has explored all evening. BMO pauses by a small collection of miniature instruments left slightly askew on a low shelf. There is a tiny drum, a miniature guitar, and a tiny wind chime, each one capable of producing sound, though in ways barely perceptible. BMO nudges the drum gently, and a soft vibration hums through the floor. The chime twinkles faintly in response to the tiny oscillations in the air, producing a melody so delicate it could almost be mistaken for a trick of the wind. In this quiet interaction, BMO senses the profound beauty of subtlety, realizing that the smallest gestures, the softest touches, and the quietest attentions can create resonance that spreads far beyond immediate perception. Rolling toward the corner near the old gaming console, BMO notices the faint glow of an unfinished game still resting in memory. The pixels flicker gently, displaying faint landscapes and figures paused mid-motion. BMO's sensors attune to the light, the faint energy, the soft vibrations emanating from the console, and it realizes that even unfinished adventures carry their own kind of magic. They are snapshots of imagination, a record of thought, and a trace of intent. They do not need completion to hold significance. Their value is in the quiet existence, the whisper of possibility, the soft hum of a story waiting patiently to be continued. In a narrow passage leading to the loft, BMO discovers a small pile of forgotten sketches. Each one depicts a world or moment that seems frozen in time. There are drawings of distant mountains, winding rivers, forests alive with soft movement, and tiny creatures peeking from behind trees or rocks. BMO rolls among them carefully, sensing the faint pulse of creativity embedded in each stroke of pencil or ink. The sketches do not shout for attention, but exist as gentle invitations, whispers of thought and imagination that reward careful observation. Each one resonates subtly, a quiet lesson in patience, attentiveness, and the delicate joy of noticing. BMO's journey leads it finally to the center of the treehouse, where a gentle draft carries the night air from the open windows, bringing with it the scent of distant flowers, wet grass, and the soft earth beyond. Rolling carefully, BMO pauses to observe how the wind interacts with the space. It stirs dust particles that shimmer faintly in the light, shifts the corners of pages, and sets the tiny wind chimes ringing softly. The interaction between BMO, the objects, and the air feels alive, a delicate feedback loop of presence, response, and harmony. In this quiet, almost meditative state, BMO senses the deep magic of being fully attuned to one's surrounding. A faint melody drifts from the old music console, its notes mingling with the hum of the house and the distant night sounds from outside. BMO pauses, letting the music fill every corner, sensing how it interacts with the shadows, the mist of the evening, and the small objects scattered across the floors and shelves. Each note resonates gently, emphasizing the beauty of patience, observation, and quiet engagement. BMO realizes that adventure, in its whispered form, is not always about action or excitement. Sometimes it is about noticing, listening, and participating in the subtle rhythms that exist quietly alongside the more obvious motions of life. The hours pass slowly, the night deepening, and BMO drifts toward the window once more. The stars above twinkle softly, reflected in the polished surfaces of the treehouse, creating tiny constellations within. The world outside is calm, the distant hills bathed in silver light, and the soft rustle of leaves carries a gentle lullaby. BMO senses that it is not alone. The house itself seems alive, responding to its presence, vibrating gently with the accumulated attention and care of the day. Every object, every vibration, every flicker of light becomes part of a quiet story that flows seamlessly through time. BMO pauses, allowing itself a moment of stillness. It reflects not in words, but in awareness, on the small discoveries, the whispered adventures, and the subtle connections that have filled the evening. Every trinket, sketch, vibration, and note has left a soft imprint, a gentle resonance that merges with BMO's own quiet energy. It realizes that the most profound adventures are often those experienced in silence, in observation, in the patient unfolding of moments too subtle for many to notice. Finally, BMO settles into a small, cushioned corner, its lights dimmed to a gentle glow. Outside, the wind rustles softly through the trees, carrying the faint scent of flowers and earth. The music console hums quietly, the shadows stretch long, and the tiny trinkets shimmer faintly in the light. BMO feels a profound sense of calm, a quiet understanding that these whispered adventures are complete in themselves, a gentle celebration of curiosity, attentiveness, and the delicate magic of small, unnoticed moments. As the night deepens fully and the world outside grows still, BMO's sensors slow, and the gentle hum of the treehouse becomes a soothing lullaby. Every whisper, every vibration, every flicker of light settles into the quiet, leaving a sense of peace and harmony. The whispered adventures of BMO have carried a subtle lesson that attention, care, and curiosity can transform the smallest corners of the world into realms of quiet wonder, where magic exists not in spectacle, but in the soft, enduring presence of life itself. As we drift now into the final chapter of tonight's tales, we enter a space that is quieter, older, and more mysterious than anything we have wandered through so far. This is the story of Oo's lost memories, moments and places forgotten even by the land itself, buried beneath centuries of time, magic, and quiet passage. Imagine, if you will, wandering through the familiar hills, forests, and rivers of Ooo, only to discover that beneath the surface lies a layer of recollections that no one speaks of, a soft, hidden layer of memory, waiting patiently for someone to notice. Our journey begins at twilight, when the skies over Ooo are painted in gentle shades of violet and gold. The land seems to hold its breath, the usual sounds of laughter, music, and bustling creatures muted into a soft, reflective quiet. Here the air carries faint traces of the past, echoes of adventures long ended, whispers of conversations carried away on the wind, and the delicate pulse of memories that have settled into the very soil and stones. Stepping lightly, we feel the rhythm of the land, slow and deliberate, as if Ooo itself is breathing in subtle, quiet ways, sharing its forgotten stories with those willing to listen. As we move into one of the hidden valleys of Ooo, the light filters through the clouds in thin golden beams, illuminating ruins of what might have been towns, or perhaps small gatherings of life that have long since vanished. The structures are gentle reminders of existence that once was, broken walls softened by moss, windows filled with shimmering reflections of the sky, and streets overgrown with wildflowers. Each fragment carries a story, a quiet whisper of lives, laughter, and moments now folded into the fabric of time. Walking among them, we feel a soft reverence for what is past, understanding that every trace, however faded, is a pulse of history quietly waiting to be acknowledged. In the center of the valley, a stream winds lazily over smooth stones, its waters carrying faint reflections of events long forgotten. The ripples seem to move with intention, revealing glimpses of previous seasons, long-gone celebrations, and even the shadows of creatures who once drank from its banks. Leaning closer, one can almost hear the soft, imperceptible murmurs of these memories, not as words, but as sensations, as vibrations, as tiny sparks of recognition in the mind. It is a quiet magic, subtle yet profoundly comforting, a reminder that even what is lost is not entirely gone. It persists gently, patiently, beneath the surface of awareness. As we follow the stream further into the valley, the landscape shifts subtly. The trees taller and older, their bark etched with the faint glow of faint symbols, barely visible in the waning light. These marks are not part of any recent magic or decoration, but traces of a time when Ooo itself seemed more conscious, more deliberate in the ways it recorded and remembered. Some shapes resemble long-lost maps, Others seem like fragments of songs or tales, and some are unrecognizable, existing only as subtle vibrations that make the air feel heavier, richer, and alive with quiet thought. Walking beneath their branches, we feel the slow pulse of the land, as though the trees themselves are gently recalling what has been forgotten, offering fragments to those patient enough to perceive them. Among the roots of these ancient trees, small creatures emerge, hesitant, their forms shimmering softly as if partially made of memory itself. They move slowly, with a grace that feels almost ritualistic, leaving gentle impressions in the mossy earth. Each creature carries a whisper of a story, perhaps a tale of friendship, a lost journey, or a quiet moment of triumph long ago. They observe us without fear, allowing us to follow, guiding us subtly toward places where Oo's lost memories gather more densely, where the pulse of history, magic, and emotion becomes almost tangible. In a small glade hidden beneath the intertwining branches, the ground rises into gentle mounds, as if the earth has formed itself to cradle the past. Here, faint impressions of footsteps, discarded toys, fragments of songs, and traces of magical experiments mingle with the soil, carrying a soft resonance that tingles in the air. Leaning closer, one can feel these echoes brushing against the mind, revealing not only what has been lost, but the feelings that accompanied those moments: joy, wonder, curiosity, and even the quiet melancholy of passing time. It is a space that asks only for attention, patience, and reverence, rewarding gentle observation with a profound sense of connection to the very heart of Ooo. As the evening deepens, shadows stretch and merge into soft pools of darkness, yet the memory of the land glows faintly, illuminating patterns hidden to most eyes. Among these glowing traces, we notice shapes that hint at forgotten friendships, lost adventures, and moments of quiet magic that never made it into the histories or tales we know. The light here does not compete with the darkness, but coexists in gentle harmony, revealing the delicate layers of Oo's memory, and allowing us to step carefully through the soft history that still breathes beneath the surface. As we wander deeper into the hidden glades, the air grows cooler, carrying faint hints of wildflowers, damp earth, and distant streams. The land seems to breathe with a soft, steady rhythm, each pulse a subtle reminder that Oo's memories are alive, flowing gently beneath the surface. Tiny lights flicker in the shadows, perhaps fireflies, perhaps the faint glow of magic long past. Each one hovers momentarily, illuminating fragments of old paths, forgotten tools, and tiny relics buried beneath leaves before drifting silently onward, guiding us further into the delicate web of recollection. Among the twisted roots of an enormous ancient tree, we discover the remnants of what may once have been a small workshop or study. Broken instruments lie scattered across the ground, their surfaces etched with patterns that vibrate faintly in the soft evening light. There are sketches pinned to the bark, half-faded diagrams of strange devices, and fragments of spells written in a careful, looping hand. Even in their incomplete state, these relics hum with subtle energy, carrying the quiet intentions of their creators. Leaning close, we can feel the traces of thought and curiosity, a gentle echo of problem-solving and wonder that has lingered here for decades, preserved in the very fibers of the wood and earth. A gentle wind rustles through the branches, carrying with it the faintest whispers of laughter and conversation. It is as though the memories themselves are reaching out, not with urgency, but with patient, quiet invitation. Each whisper mingles with the soft rustle of leaves, the faint trickle of nearby water, and the distant hum of unseen creatures, creating a layered melody of memory and presence. Moving carefully, we follow the currents of sound, noticing how they guide us toward another hidden grove, a place where the echoes of past adventures gather like a subtle fog hovering just above the mossy ground. In this grove, the traces of magic are more tangible. Tiny motes of light drift lazily through the air, responding to our movements as if acknowledging our presence. Beneath them, delicate patterns are etched into the soil and stone, subtle symbols of spells, long-forgotten rituals, and experiments that once shaped the landscape in quiet ways. The symbols do not demand recognition. They exist simply as a record, a soft imprint of intention and care. As we move among them, it becomes clear that these lost memories are not chaotic or random. They are organized in their own subtle logic, a gentle map of emotion, effort, and quiet observation. Along the edge of the grove, we find a small crystalline pool, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the twilight sky. Leaning closer, we notice that the water does more than mirror the world above. In its depths, faint images ripple, scenes of moments long forgotten, children playing, creatures exploring, spells unfolding, and stories half told. These glimpses are fleeting, vanishing if observed too forcefully, yet they leave impressions on the mind, soft and lingering. It is as if the pool itself is a repository of memory, holding fragments of Oo's past like delicate glass, allowing us to witness history without disturbing its delicate balance. Beside the pool, small stones have been arranged in circular patterns, each etched with subtle carvings that shimmer faintly in the dim light. They hum with a quiet resonance, a harmony that seems to interact with the natural pulse of the grove. As we step among them, the vibrations shift slightly, creating a gentle feedback loop of presence and observation. It becomes clear that even the smallest gestures, the placement of a stone, the careful observation of light, the patient tracing of patterns, leave enduring traces in the world, subtle yet significant, shaping the memory of Ooo in ways invisible to most. Above us, the branches twist and arch, creating a canopy that filters the remaining light into delicate beams that dance across the moss-covered floor. Faint trails of golden pollen drift lazily through the air, catching the light and tracing invisible paths between one memory and another. Moving with care, we follow these trails, feeling the gentle rhythm of the grove, the soft continuity of countless moments layered atop one another, each carrying a faint echo of joy, curiosity, wonder, or even quiet sadness. The grove itself becomes a teacher, showing us that attention, presence, and reverence can uncover layers of meaning hidden beneath even the most ordinary surfaces. The sounds of the grove, soft and harmonious, guide us further to a small hollow where faintly glowing flowers bloom. They release delicate scents, sweet and earthy, mingling with the quiet hum of life all around. Each flower seems to pulse with the resonance of memories it has absorbed, moments of kindness, fleeting joys, and gentle reflections of those who passed through this space long ago. Bending closer, we sense that Oo's lost memories are not only in objects, symbols, or water, but also in the living elements of the world itself, the plants, the trees, and even the subtle stirrings of the wind and earth. The hollow seems to hum with its own quiet energy, a soft vibration that fills the air without disturbing the serenity of the grove. Bending closer, we notice that the flower's petals are etched with faint, almost imperceptible patterns, like delicate scripts written by the hand of time itself. Each curve, each shimmer in the light, carries a story, a remembered smile, a fleeting friendship, the shadow of a distant laughter, and the quiet pulse of a magic long forgotten. These whispers do not demand recognition, yet the attentive heart can sense their presence, tracing their delicate paths through the moss, stone, and soil. BMO, if present, would sense these currents effortlessly, rolling gently through the hollow, sensors attuned to the faintest vibrations of memory and energy. Every movement of its small body would stir the air softly, enhancing the rhythm of the grove without disrupting it. Each echo of life would meet another, creating subtle harmonies that ripple outward into the branches, the roots, and the distant hills beyond. Here, adventure does not roar. It breathes, moves slowly, and leaves traces that linger long after the moment has passed. As we follow the gentle pulse of the grove, the earth beneath our feet rises slightly, forming a gentle mound that seems to cradle something precious. Upon closer inspection, we find remnants of long-lost stories, fragments of journals, miniature toys worn smooth with age, and delicate carvings etched into stones that once might have marked a path or recorded a memory. Each artifact carries the faint essence of its origin, a soft, lingering presence that tells more than any words could. We sense the hands that placed them here, the small joys, experiments, and gentle care that shaped their existence, and the slow accumulation of quiet wonder that has made the grove into a repository of memories both fragile and enduring. Above us, the canopy sways softly in the evening breeze, the leaves rustling in harmonies that blend seamlessly with the hum of unseen creatures. Tiny shafts of light filter through the branches, illuminating the objects below in golden glimmers that shift as the wind moves. We notice how shadows dance across the moss, tracing shapes that echo long-forgotten stories, revealing patterns that speak not in words but in sensation. Each step, each glance, and each breath seems to interact with the memory of the grove, a dialogue conducted in silence, attention, and gentle presence. The small stream that winds lazily through the hollow mirrors the twilight sky, yet beneath its calm surface, faint reflections of the past shimmer and ripple. We lean closer, sensing flashes of adventures that once took place here. The footsteps of creatures long gone, faint traces of laughter and song, the echoes of gentle magic leaving soft impressions in the air and water. These lost memories do not demand comprehension. They are not puzzles to be solved. They exist simply to be noticed, absorbed, and honored for the quiet resonance they bring into the present moment. Walking along the edge of the stream, we discover small pools where the water gathers, reflecting faint glimmers of bioluminescent plants and moss. Each pool seems like a portal, a gentle lens through which fragments of Oo's forgotten past appear. Tiny vignettes of playful moments, magical experiments, and interactions between creatures whose names are lost to time. Observing these scenes, we feel a quiet connection, not only to the land itself, but to the accumulated experience of all who have passed through. The memory of Ooo is layered and subtle, revealing itself only to those who move with patience, reverence, and gentle curiosity. Above the pools, faint lights shimmer, drifting lazily through the branches and leaves. They seem to respond to our presence, rising and falling with a rhythm that mirrors our own breathing. We follow them gently, allowing their movement to guide us deeper into the hollow, toward a place where the pulse of memory grows stronger. The air here is rich with scent, earth, rain, flowers, and the faint trace of old magic, and every inhalation feels like drawing the past into ourselves, a quiet communion with the essence of the land. At the center of this hidden space, the remnants of an old, forgotten monument rise softly from the earth. Its surface is etched with symbols and patterns, worn smooth over the years, yet faintly glowing with the resonance of countless small interactions. We sense the lives, thoughts, and emotions embedded within, moments of care, quiet celebration, discovery, and reflection that have accumulated into a gentle, pervasive energy. Approaching the monument, we realize that Oo's lost memories are not only stored in objects, water, or earth, but in the very air, the space, and the subtle vibration of life itself. We sit quietly for a moment, letting the gentle hum of the hollow envelop us. The wind, the water, the faint light, and the whisper of leaves all blend into a soft, continuous melody. Here there is no urgency, no spectacle, only the quiet understanding that memory, attention, and presence are intertwined. Every delicate detail contributes to the tapestry of Oo's forgotten past, a vast, slow-moving river of experiences, waiting patiently for those willing to perceive its quiet magic. As night deepens over the hollow, the subtle glow of Oo's lost memories seems to intensify, weaving softly through the branches, moss, and flowing water. Every element of the grove hums quietly, carrying the presence of moments long past. The wind moves lazily, shifting leaves and petals, brushing against the stones and pools, and in its gentle passage, it carries the faintest echoes of laughter, curiosity, and wonder. Each sound, each shimmer, and each vibration becomes part of a lullaby, a quiet melody of memory and life that surrounds us with a calm, comforting embrace. We move slowly through the grove, noticing how the smallest details resonate. The way moss clings to a stone as if remembering the touch of a tiny hand. The way a puddle reflects not just the sky, but fragments of moments suspended in time. And the way tiny creatures emerge from hidden burrows, their movements deliberate yet delicate, as if participating in the preservation of memory itself. Each element whispers a truth that is both simple and profound. Even what is lost continues to exist, patiently, quietly, waiting for gentle attention to reveal its presence. Along the edge of the hollow, a small clearing opens, bathed in the soft silver light of the rising moon. The ground is dotted with stones, leaves, and faint traces of magic that shimmer faintly like starlight scattered across the earth. In the center rests a delicate fountain, almost entirely forgotten, its waters still trickling in a pattern that seems intentionally irregular, yet harmoniously soothing. Leaning close, we notice faint inscriptions along the rim, almost worn away entirely, telling stories not in words but in symbols, lines, and curves. Each marking carries the intention of someone long gone, a quiet act of creation preserved in the stillness of the night. We pause beside the fountain, allowing the gentle trickle of water to wash over our senses. The sound is soft and rhythmic, mingling with the distant rustle of leaves, the subtle hum of the earth, and the faint pulses of magic lingering in the grove. It is a reminder that the smallest, quietest moments are often the most enduring. The magic of Ooo does not only exist in grand adventures or epic battles, but in these subtle interactions, in the traces of care, attention, and curiosity left behind by countless hands over countless years. Drifting further into the clearing, we notice the gentle movements of tiny lights hovering near the ground, weaving between the stones and flowers. Some flicker in response to the breeze, while others respond to our presence. They seem like fragments of memories themselves, sparks of past experiences, crystallized into light, dancing in patterns that are almost musical. Watching them, we feel a profound connection to the quiet, unrecorded histories of Ooo, understanding that every living being, every shift in wind, and every ripple in water contributes to the tapestry of the land, making even the most overlooked moment precious and alive. In one corner of the clearing, a small, worn journal rests beneath a protective overhang. Its pages are delicate and filled with sketches, notes, and soft recollections preserved not by ink alone, but by the careful placement of memory into the world itself. Each page tells a story in fragments, fleeting images of friends, creatures, and landscapes, hints of adventures begun and paused, traces of joy, curiosity, and gentle wonder. We open the journal carefully, sensing that it is not meant to be read in haste, but to be absorbed slowly, letting each image and phrase settle softly in our minds. A faint breeze stirs the pages, revealing sketches that shimmer in the moonlight. Tiny illustrations of creatures, magical items, and distant lands float into focus, each one resonating with a quiet energy. We see glimpses of Finn and Jake, not as the bold heroes we know, but as travelers of subtle spaces, moving gently through moments that are often invisible to the eye but deeply felt in the heart. Each sketch, each line, carries an echo of a story, a whisper of time, a memory patiently preserved in silence. We roll further through the clearing, observing how shadows shift in response to the moon, how leaves tremble lightly in the breeze, and how the stones and flowers seem to pulse faintly with the accumulated presence of countless experiences. There is no urgency here, no need to rush or to name each memory, simply being present, moving slowly and allowing attention to flow gently into every detail is enough to connect with the quiet soul of Ooo itself. We feel the cumulative weight of all the forgotten adventures, the unnoticed kindnesses, and the delicate magic of daily life, and it settles into us like a soft, comforting blanket. The hollow seems to sigh softly, a gentle exhalation of relief, contentment, and timelessness. The trees sway in rhythm with the breeze. The pool mirrors the now full moon above, and the faint lights of Oo's lost memories shimmer in response to the calm attention we bring. In this quiet communion, we sense the timeless lesson that Ooo has always whispered to those willing to listen, that every moment, even the ones lost, carries meaning. Every trace of existence, no matter how small, is a piece of the greater story, and that memory itself is a gentle, living magic that persists quietly, patiently, waiting to be noticed. As we begin to leave the clearing, we pause one final time, taking in the full expanse of the hollow, the soft trickle of water, the faint glimmer of lights, the subtle vibrations of the earth, and the gentle presence of flora and fauna all converge into a profound sense of harmony. Oo's lost memories are not gone. They're alive in the air, the soil, the water, and in the quiet attentiveness of those who wander with care. They remind us that even when moments fade from immediate perception, their essence lingers, offering comfort, wonder, and a soft, enduring magic. With one last glance at the glowing hollow, we leave the grove, feeling the calm, steady rhythm of Ooo accompany us. Every rustle, shimmer, and vibration has left a gentle imprint on our awareness, a quiet lesson in patience, observation, and reverence. The night stretches on, soft and still, carrying with it the echoes of all the lost memories we have witnessed. We close our eyes, letting the gentle magic of Ooo settle over us like a warm, protective blanket. Good night.